We live in a bubble gilded with gold. We can't see the trouble, the sorrow untold. But what lies behind your daily routine? The paupers will starve, you'll eat like a queen. But if someday you lost your wealth and into the ruin falls your health, for those who are too much to offer, when the wells run dry, we know the worth of water. A very good morning, everyone. We here at Amity School of Economics are delighted and honored to welcome you all to our fifth international conference on sustainable development goals, harnessing innovation, technology, and Society 5.0. The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. Economic progress, as we know, it is a phenomenon as recent as 200 years old. And in this minuscule time frame, we have lost so much in terms of natural assets that there is no way to record it. Human ambitions versus natural resources is a classic economic debate, though it has been longly unresolved. And it is one of the things that the pandemic has taught us. It is that we need to start paying attention to the world around us before it threatens to annihilate our very existence.
Under this track, that is track 5, we aim to discuss sustainable development, socioeconomic aspects, and entrepreneurship. The topic on the floor today are emission, human capital, and urban development, and they are all connected. It is a Gordian knot we are in the process of untangling since the dawn of the Industrial Revolution. There are many ideas and threads to follow, and for this, we have ample room for deliberation. The long process of meaning making and finding a balance is challenging, but it has to be done before running out of opportunity. And through this conference, we are trying to come one step closer to this balance that the world seeks. In our fifth international conference, Amity School of Economics is proud to associate with budding researchers, scholars, and thinkers from all across the country. We have received participation from over 70 plus universities like Delhi University and Christ University. We have also received research papers from different countries such as Uganda and Korea and had an overall participation of around 100 participants with over 110 research papers.
In this session, we have 17 research papers covering vague aspects, which are land acquisition, sustainable agriculture practices, micro entrepreneurship, agriculture 4.0, self-help groups, edtech e-skills for innovation, and many more. These subtopics depict innovations that brings out new dimensions of sustainable development and also unreveals the futuristic developments in different fields which contribute to SDGs. Now, I would like to invite our technical session 5 coordinator, Dr. Mahua Bhattacharya ma'am, to kindly invite our session chairs and share her valuable views with us.
Thank you, Karandeep. I know that it is a very tiring job to organize a conference, and that too with such a big topic, that is the sustainable development goals. And especially in this technical session, which is titled as Sustainable Development and Socio-Economic Aspect and Entrepreneurship, I have the privilege to actually welcome our chair, Dr. Chanchal Chopra and Ms. Kavita Sharma. Actually, I specifically and strategically planned this, both of them, because I was given the responsibility to organize this session, which is called Sustainable Development and Socio-Economic Aspects and Entrepreneurship. So if we divide this entire terminology into two sections, in one section, if we can zero down into a high amount of literature and academics and research work theoretically done, and the another side is the entrepreneurship, which is high class practical discussion which takes place, and where the implication of the models has been discussed. So I felt that the balance between the Dr. Chanchal Chopra and Ms. Kavita Sharma will be the unique one, because Dr. Chanchal Chopra is very much associated with Janki Devi College, and she is, as we will be getting a detailed CV discussion on her profile. But I know her personally. She is someone who is dedicated to research work and guide students in research, because she also chaired one session of ICEIL, that is an international conference which Amity University conducted for leadership and entrepreneurship. There also she guided us in case study competition. And then, so that's why, Chanchal Madam, most welcome to you, because you are always there with Amity University with a very, very minute points you will be guiding to the researcher. I am sure that it will help them to think their research work once again and do it again and rethink again and give some additional point again after they go back from this conference. So welcome you,
Thank-
Madam.
Thank-
So, thank you, Madam. So the
Thank-
next, my privilege to welcome Ms. Kavita Sharma, and she's a manager in WRI for Sustainable Land Use in South Asia. But also I know her because she was associated with NIAM, National Institute of Agriculture Management, and at that time she gave us a very, very good lead on actually working entrepreneurs who are on agriculture, what kind of additional information we should put, and what kind of additional government facilities we have for entrepreneurship. These entire things is on her nails actually, because she's working with them. And so it is my privilege to welcome you, Madam Kavita ma'am, because I know that you will be giving that practical edge to that theoretical paper, because at the end of the day, our conference should give us some points which will help to build India online, in line what our Honorable Prime Minister, and also on the same line our Honorable Founder Sir is also guiding us to do. It's my privilege to tell you, Madam, that our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Madam Balvinder Shukla, Madam, is constantly chasing us to develop our entrepreneurship, develop students' entrepreneurship skill. And for that purpose, we have got a very active incubation center. We have got an institutional innovation council under which faculty members are responsible to guide students to go for a multi-institutional research work and bring practical contribution to the country. And this is something which you will be finding in the vibrations very much intake in our university, in Amity University. So it's our privilege, Madam, to get you and to associate with Amity University with you, who is very much into this active participation and working on country's vision and on our founder president's vision. Thank you so much. Without taking much time, as I have said, that we will not take much time. Right at 10:15, we will start our paper presentation. And Kavita Madam has to leave because she has scheduled a meeting at 1 o'clock. So we will try to wind it up, Madam, as within 1 o'clock. And the organizers will be telling the guidelines to the paper presenter before we start. But before that, I wish all the paper presenters a very good luck, and try to take the best output from the guides, I say guides, but they are the chairs, and they will actually guide you how you can not only contribute theoretically in your research work, but you make a practical contribution to our country. Thank you so much. Without taking much time, I welcome once again to both of you. And it's my privilege also. We have our joint administrator, Professor Kavita Indapurkar, with us. And so she has also just now joined. We have got a parallel technical sessions actually going in the two rooms. So she has to manage both of them. So it's my privilege. She has joined here. So most welcome, Madam. So without taking much time, I will request our organizers to please come forward and start the session. Fine. Thank you so much.
As Mahua ma'am already introduced our session chairs, so one of the chairs for today is Dr. Chanchal Chopra. She's an associate professor at Janki Devi Memorial College, University of Delhi. She is a BCom honors, MCom, MPhil, and PhD from Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. She has a teaching experience of 38 years. She has authored one book and has to her credited many papers published in national and international conferences.
Kavita Madam is telling that she can't hear. Kavita Madam, you can't hear? Kavita Madam, you can't hear?
The voice is very low on the mic. Even I couldn't hear much of the part which you said.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so do I need to put now it's better. Yeah, it was better now.
Now, when I'm talking here, this way you can hear, right?
Yeah, I think with this hand mic, it is much better.
I think so. I'll tell our organizer to use this. Okay. Thank you so much, madam. And please, Karandeep, repeat it again.
Thank you so much.
As already introduced by Mahua ma'am, one of the chairs for today is Dr. Chanchal Chopra. She is an associate professor at Jangi Devi Memorial College, University of Delhi. She is a BCom honors, MCom, MPhil, and PhD from Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. She has a teaching experience of 38 years. She has authored one book and has to her credited many papers published in national and international journals. She has also presented numerous papers at various national and international conferences and has been awarded with Best Papers and Best Presentation Awards as well. She has been the editor-in-chief of the conference proceedings of National Conference on Micro and Macroeconomic Research, Singapore, and co-editor-in-chief of the conference proceedings of the International Conference on Qualitative and Quantitative Economic Research, Singapore. She has chaired the technical session at various national and international conferences on management, business, and economics. She has been on the editorial board of Global Science and Technology Forum Singapore and also a member of the peer review committee at the University of Riverdale, Los Angeles, USA.
Our second chair for today is Ms. Kavita Sharma. She's a program manager and the Sustainable Landscape and Restoration team at WRI India and leads the world on Land Accelerator South Asia. She holds a PG diploma degree in agribusiness management from National Institute of Agricultural Marketing, Jaipur, and a bachelor's in agriculture with a vice chancellor's gold medal from GB Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Pantnagar. Earlier, she was associated with the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare in establishing agribusiness incubators across the country. Being an agribusiness professional and environmental enthusiast focused on entrepreneurship development, she has experience in the corporate sector in developing agriculture marketing infrastructure, modern wholesale markets, and value chains for perishable. She is also a nature lover and likes reading newspapers and journals.
Let's take a minute and see what our sponsors have in store for us. Without further Without further ado, let us get started with our presentations. Participants, please note you'll be given 15 minutes for your presentation and 5 minutes for Q&A round. So first, I request our first participant for the morning, Ms. Neha Pandit, presenting her paper on ease of doing business. Is it a sustainable approach? Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A very good morning to all the esteemed panelists and my other counterparts in the session. Shall I project the presentation here, or would that be done from there? I hope I was audible.
Yes, yes, Neha, you are audible. We are just trying to share your PPT. Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I hope you can see it now.
Yes, ma'am, I can see it. Thank you so much.
Wait a minute. Let the chairs gives a node and then only we will start.
Sure.
Chairs, are we ready? Can we go ahead?
Yeah. Dr. Mahua, please go ahead.
Yeah, Kavita madam, are we
Yeah,
ready?
please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Madam, we have given a mark for evaluation also.
Yeah.
We have given an evaluation sheet. So please see that, madam. Fine.
Can she tell us what's her number, paper number in this list?
Okay, that one we don't.
Ma'am, it's paper
It's a paper
one.
number 1, I think. No, paper 1 number 1.
No, that is compulsory land acquisition. She said ease of doing business.
Even I am finding it that. New list I didn't send it. ये आपके पुराना लिस्ट के हिसाब से आप बताओ कौन से नंबर में है. Ease of doing business. Okay, madam, these are new participants which have entered.
Okay.
Not there in the old one. So yeah,
I've added her name, Neha.
you can just write down Neha Pandit.
Yeah.
Fine. Ease of doing business. It's not there.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
two participant has joined like that. We will be having an extra presentation. They have got
Okay.
okay. For technical glitch, this name has left. Fine. Thank you so much, madam, for kind consideration. So I think we are good to go now.
Yeah.
Fine. Please start, Neha.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my topic is ease of doing business. Is it a sustainable approach? Can we please move to the next slide? Yeah, so just to give you an introduction about the topic, ease of doing business, of course, it is a familiar term now. This started way long when, 190 economies were being evaluated on the ease that they provide to the industries for setting up a business. And World Bank used to do this assessment. Later in around 2014, our Prime Minister brought this vision under the Make in India program, that in order to reduce the global ranking, which was then 142, and bring it to somewhere under 50. So there should be an exercise done within the country so as to improve the various processes that are involved in providing approvals to the new businesses. So that is when DPIIT, Department of Industry and Internal Trade, which was then called DPIIT, introduced a business reform action plan, which was mandated for all the states and the UTs in the country to follow. And there was certain set of reforms that were introduced, which had to do with processes, policies, simplification of processes, introducing a stringent timeline, online provision for making an application, making the payment, download of certificates. Such provisions were introduced. And since 2015, this is a kind of an annual exercise which DPIIT does, and it ranks states every year. Can you please move to the next slide? So the basic objective of this study was to understand if EODB parameters, what are the parameters, what is its relevance, and also another important aspect was the perception of students which are to be entrepreneurs. So this paper is confined to students, but overall my research is on the startups, what is their perception about ease of doing business, and the students, the youth, the ones who are going to be the entrepreneurs soon. Can you please move to the next slide? So there are various parameters under ease of doing business, which the World Bank has recognized, defined, and based on these parameters, they do the evaluation. So these are starting a business, dealing with construction permits, getting electricity, registering a property, getting credits, protecting minority investors, paying taxes, trading across borders, and enforcing contracts, and in resolving insolvency. When this was introduced in India, most of the idea was taken from the ranking and the parameters that the World Bank was doing. But to make it more customized, there were certain, because this had to be done by the state government, so there were certain like trading across borders was not relevant in that sense. Also, my studies confined to the state of Madhya Pradesh. So when it was done at the state level, there were certain changes that were made to the parameters for the evaluation of ease of doing business at the state level. Can you please move to the next slide? Next, please. So a sample size of around 450 students has been taken for the study, which we'll just see. Next, please. So the hypothesis is the perception about ease of doing business would vary on the basis of age and gender. Next, please. So this is the profile of the respondents. This is the age bracket across which we've got the students, and on the gender. Next, please. This is the educational level of a major chunk was undergraduate, and rest were postgraduate. Also the students were selected from across streams so as to have a holistic view. Next, please. This slide reflects the occupation of parents, because in case of students, this was relevant because students are not directly at this point are exposed to, what is there in the market, what is going in the industry. Whatever they know is mainly through secondary information. So either it is through media, or it possibly could be through the personal experience where their parents are into business. So that is what possibly could be their source of information. This is the spread across the cities in MP where the students were from. Next, please. So starting a business includes a set of approvals. So this is a reflection of how they feel it is convenient for them, for a person to start a business. So the first chart reflects their perception about the ease of starting a business in the state. And the second reflects the number of documents procedures in starting a business has reduced significantly, which actually has. So since when this exercise started way back in 2014, so since then a lot of procedures across departments. I mean, there are around 15 plus departments that are involved. So across departments, a lot of things have been automated. The number of documents required for a license have been considerably reduced. The timelines have been considerably reduced, and also there is something called Public Service Guarantee Act, which ensures that if the service is not provided within that definite timeline, the concerned officer can be penalized. So almost all the services that are required I mean, as on date, all the services that are required for an industry to set up a business are now covered under Public Service Guarantee Act. But the study is about what is the perception, how much is the awareness. I mean, overall, in the study, I realized that despite of the work that the government is doing, I don't advocate that they're doing very good work has been done. But yes, a substantial progress has been made in last 4-5 years. And so, you know, initially in 2014, almost everything was manual. So from that point to this point, at least we have all the automated processes, and you know, a lot of things have been streamlined. But yes, that awareness is still not there in the youth, and to some extent also in the startups. It is, you know, there are notifications, there are you know, orders that even startups who are already there in the industry are not really aware of. So anyways, coming back to this, so the second chart reflects their perception about the procedures and the documents. Can you please move to the next slide? Oh, am I audible? Can you please move to the next slide? Thank you so much. Okay, so obtaining various business approvals and clearances for the from the government department is simple and fast. So as you can see that mostly people disagree with that. A major chunk disagree and strongly disagrees with that. Supply of electricity has improved significantly. We have some positive response here. Next, please. Credit is available easily. That is again, the chart shows that, you know, there's a negative perception about this. Compliance under various labor laws has become easy. Again, you can see overall, you know, it is majorly negative. The major percentage is negative. Can we please move to the next slide? Number of procedures for registering a property or transfer a title has reduced significantly. In MP, actually, it has, you know, it now just takes a day, you know, when you apply, and on the same day you get the registry document. And they have, you know, really streamlined the process. You've given a slot, you're almost done with that process in 15-20 minutes. So they've really worked in this area. And overall, if you see the DPIIT report, MP is doing best in this area. So yeah, it is one of the best practices. Other than Maharashtra. Maharashtra has also done some very good work in this area.
Sorry to interrupt
Planned
you.
is,
Ma'am, there is just 1 minute left to wind up.
oh, is it? Okay, can we quickly then move, please? Okay, so basically these charts all show that students are not really aware, and they have a negative perception about overall, you know, procedures required in for starting a business. Can we please come to the conclusion slide? Next, please. Okay. So the conclusion. So what I really
Wait a minute. I would request you to please go to your ANOVA slide. Yeah, here what you wanted to do, please show, because you know this is something much technical work you have done, right?
Okay.
Yeah, please, we can adjust your time, right? Because this is the final thing which you would like to get yourself validated in front of the conference. So let's talk in this one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
So this just
right.
Sorry.
The two hypotheses which you have taken.
The two hypotheses.
Yeah, yeah.
Correct.
Please,
The gender and age.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So okay. So actually, I would want to skip this, please.
Okay, fine. It's
Because
all.
my guide helped me in this, and
It's all right.
I'm
It's all right.
I'm really not sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, so the conclusion that was made was that that so as we could clearly see that on most of the parameters, the students had a negative perception. So the question here is that despite of the work that is happening, is it what the government really needs to look at? I mean, it is a question for them that if the youth which are going to be the entrepreneurs, they have such a negative perception about the entire ecosystem, so that some in a way is going to hinder their interest to be the entrepreneurs. And when we are talking about Make in India, and we are Startup India, Stand Up India, I mean, we in a way are trying to, government in a way is trying to promote entrepreneurship. So youth is a major stakeholder, and so it is important for the government to bridge this gap, and to maybe run awareness campaigns and make students also part of this, and make them aware about the work that is being done, but about the vision that the government has, and about the how they can actually look forward to it, and they can relate to it. Maybe that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we will be moving on to the Q&A.
Sure.
So Chanchal ma'am.
Yeah,
No, ma'am,
yeah.
question.
Neha, thank you. Neha, you have made a good effort.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would just like to ask you that what these students asked about the question of ease of doing business, given the scenario that there has been a campaign to make students aware, or there has not been any such attempt, that students should be made aware of these new ways of doing business. So why did you take the students into the sample? Don't you think you could have taken some budding entrepreneurs, or the ones who want to start the business, rather than students who may just be disinterested into the subject?
That's true, ma'am. I completely understand the question. So, ma'am, as I said, that my major research, the research topic that includes startups as well as students. For this topic here, I have kept myself confined because my research for startup is still on. I'm still not through with it. So for here, I've kept it confined to students, because when we were, really at the starting, when we were discussing the topic of research way back, many years back, so that is the time while in my discussion with my guide, we realized that yes, because generally also when we are doing feedback survey, when government of state government or central government is doing a feedback survey, it is certainly confined to maybe startups, medium scale industries, large scale industries. Student was never taken into account. Why we thought this was important was that these are going to be the future entrepreneurs. So yes, true that they had very limited knowledge of on the subject, and that also made a lot of sense. But with this report or analysis or final conclusion, I want to put it across to whatever platform I would be able to, that maybe this is not the focus today, but going forward, this should also be part of the agenda when when the government is planning to create more awareness. So student community should also be part of it. And also these were not
I
this
think
general students.
if you change
These were students who were part of the entrepreneurship cells in the college, the kind of little initiative that they do. So these are the students who, who had interest in being entrepreneurs in future. So despite of that, their awareness was really low.
Kavita madam, your point. I personally believe the findings is also subject to the sample which you have collected. Isn't it, Madam Chanchal, Madam?
Yeah, sure.
Because they strongly agree, strongly disagree, electricity points which you have said. If there is a high chance, that's why I wanted to see your ANOVA, because there's a high chance of getting into a biasness problem and your model might not fit, I'm telling, because Kavita madam will be able to say better.
Yeah.
Because
So-
she has got the practical edge. Yeah.
Neha, I really appreciate your efforts. And the first and very valid question has already been put up by Dr. Chanchal. Second thing is that, apologies, but I'm not very much convinced with your approach or the methodology which you have adopted. Because say, you were quoting very simple questions which can be asked through a basic questionnaire. And when you have done the ANOVA analysis, I'm not sure the kind of questions that you have taken up are really relevant for this study. Another thing is that students are not the right kind of respondents for such a survey, because you are saying you are evaluating ease of doing business. At whatever awareness level these students are, they would not be the right kind of respondents to tell you that these are the features which have been enabled. How? Because only an entrepreneur can tell you that earlier I was doing this thing physically, now it has been shifted to online. Suppose I was going to file a registration of my startup physically, now it is done at Startup India portal digitally. So I think you need to have a comprehensive set of questions, and that too under different domains as per the businesses. Suppose someone is doing a business which only requires registration, and then they start doing their business. Someone is into a digital kind of business that require multiple registrations with the government, registration with the Startup India, then also getting the patents, IPRs, because there are different kind of businesses and different set of approvals are required. So based on that, only ease of doing business can be identified. It cannot be generalized. And if you want to give a generalized opinion that yes, it has been made easy, then I think it is a very bigger picture that you want to show, and your research parameters are not fitting well into it. So my suggestion would be to consider a significant sample size of the entrepreneurs. If you want to keep it restricted to Madhya Pradesh, that is very good. But you should go to the nodal startup agency of your state. You should be able to get a registered list of the entrepreneurs. Say there are just a random number, there are 15,000 entrepreneurs in Madhya Pradesh. So you want to shortlist some entrepreneurs, then you want to carefully draft a research methodology, how you would be approaching your respondent, what would be your question set. You would need to have some focused interviews with the entrepreneurs. Then I think a very carefully drafted questionnaire is required for such kind of study. And then only how it is impacting the sustainable development can be evaluated. Because sustainability is also in terms of making the other generations or the upcoming generations get access to the resources that we are presently using. So some entrepreneurs have already started using this ease of doing business platform. They are exploring it. So how they are passing it on to the fellow entrepreneurs. If people in Madhya Pradesh, the entrepreneurs, they say that yes, ease of doing business is there. So how are they communicating it to the fellow entrepreneurs, to the other entrepreneurial community? Then it is a sustainable transition, like people are changing from physical mode of doing business to the digital mode of doing business, and they are encashing certain provisions that are provided by the government and the startup ecosystem of the state. So I think these are still just the very broad points, but I completely agree with Dr. Chanchal that students are still not the right set of respondent for this study. And also, I want to ask you if you are convinced with the findings that you have got from this study.
So I would first say that point well taken. I completely understand that students, as I also mentioned, that my complete thesis involves, the major part of it involves the study on the startups. And as you rightly said, I've already got the database from the MSME department here in Madhya Pradesh of all the startups in past 3 years, and we are in process of doing the survey. So, but since for this specific presentation here, we haven't completed that study. as
I
of now.
understand. You just wanted to make a pilot sort of thing and you wanted to see what kind of approach do you have. But I hope you have taken the expert Kavita madams and Chanchal madams.
Certainly, point. Yeah, it is.
Please
Made a note of it,
incorporate
and also with respect to the questionnaire. So the question is that we have drafted was on the lines of what Government of India does when it is evaluating the states. We have generalized it to some extent, because for students we could not, be very specific. So that is why there is a kind of generalization in questions. But the initial inference was taken from the survey that is done by DPIIT across states. But yes, I've taken a note of
Yeah,
the feedback.
Thank you so much. Now we will be going to the second paper.
Sure,
And
thank you so much. Can I log off, please?
Yeah,
I
I
have
think you can log out, right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you can log out. Now,
Thank
please, I request, it's a beginning first paper, so little bit to set the tempo, we need little bit time. We have taken extra time, but then the topic was very good to start the discussion. And we got the input from Kavita madam also exhaustively that how to go about. Now I'd request Sonai to please announce, call our second paper presenter.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants, please note, due to time constraint, we'll be sticking with our, as mentioned in the guidelines, that of 10 minutes and 2 minutes Q&A. So the next the next participant is Dr. Sachin Shah, presenting a paper on environmental etiquettes for sustainable urban development in India. Sir, the stage is all yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, can you please show my PPT or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So first of all, respected Chair in charge, Dr. Mahua Bhattacharya, respected Dr. Chanchal Chopra ji, and respected Kavita Sharma ji. I would like to thank MED School of Economics for giving me this opportunity to present the paper in the international conference organized by your university. So today I am going to talk about the environmental etiquettes for sustainable urban development in India. We know that today the biggest issue about environment is environmental degradation, climate change, global warming.
Please, excuse me, please tell us your paper number.
2. Nice paper.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Dr. Sachin from
Yes.
Maharaja Krishna Kumar Singh ji, Bhavnagar
University,
Gujarat.
Thank you.
Okay. So we all know that today the major issues of environmental degradation and climate change and global warming are affecting the urban areas of the world. And my title of the paper is Environmental Etiquettes for Sustainable Urban Development in India. When I was writing about this paper, the first thought in my mind came that why not we should follow the certain kind of protocols and etiquettes, right, in our day-to-day life to maintain our environmental biodiversity and all in urban areas, in cities where we live. So we know that today the 21st century is all about urban century, and the total population, urban population of the world is more than 4.2 billion in the world. So it is about 56% of the total urban population that is living on this earth. And it is estimated by the World Economic Forum that the more than 75% of the urban population will be living in urban areas. Thank you for the next slide. So as you can see that 56% is living in urban areas today, and by 2050 it is estimated that 75% of the population will be living on earth. So why urban areas are so much important? Because they are considered as the hubs of opportunity, cross-cultural interactions and cohesion. Right? They concentrate the majority of the world's population and deliver services to large numbers of people, creating jobs and driving innovation and economic growth. So today the world is entering into the greatest period of urbanization as in human history, we can say like that. So urban economies and livelihoods are increasingly under pressure from climate impacts and natural loss. We can say that the international climate science research community has concluded that human activities are changing the Earth's climate in ways that increase risk to cities. So today, in developing countries like India and many other developing countries, the situation in urban areas are very tricky, right? Although people, cities are attractive places to live, to work, for education, for health, etc. But then also the major issues like environmental pollution, traffic congestion, solid waste management problems, high cost of living, etc., poverty, unemployment are different kinds of issues, right? So can you please move to the next slide? Okay, so the first subtopic is the rapid urbanization and environmental challenges for cities in India, right? So as I said that in developing countries like India, there are a lot of issues regarding the environmental pollution, traffic congestion, high concentration of solid waste, etc. So according to the World Resources Institute India report, estimated value of post-harvest losses in India in 2014 was around 92,000 crore, right? And we can say that during the last 2 decades, there has been serious issues and crisis in India's solid waste management due to the poor solid waste management and waste collection issues. With limited resources, environmental degradation has been skyrocketing, right? And it is the fact that India is one of the largest generator of solid municipal waste in the world. If I talk about the electronic waste, it has been growing about 220% from 2017-18 to 2019-20, and plastic waste generation is also been growing faster than and less than half of the India's plastic waste is been recycled. So it is a major issue, right? And it is estimated by United Nations that India is witnessing an urban explosion and the total urban population is likely to reach 575 million by 2030. So we can estimate that how India will face such kind of issues and problems and environmental challenges. According to the World Waste-Wise Cities, can you please move to the next slide? Yes. Yeah. According to the Waste-Wise Cities, the best practice municipal solid waste management report of NITI Aayog 2021, it's showing that the top 15 states of India and how much they produce 95% of daily waste, right? So Maharashtra is the number one, that per day to 22,945 tons of solid waste generated in Maharashtra, then 14,000 in Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, 13,000 in West Bengal, 12,000 in Karnataka, 10,000 in Gujarat, 10,000 in Delhi. So these are the data indicating that the waste-wise cities of India, that municipal solid waste management is really poor, and the waste generation is very much high, right? So can you please move to the next slide? Okay, now we see that the basic features of urbanization in India. So the most of the urban areas in India, we can say that the development, the city development is skewed and lopsided, right? It has been characterized as a suboptimal utilization of urban land, fragmented and poorly recorded ownership of urban land. There are land acquisition issues. The process is very complex. Infrastructural cohesion is costly. Poverty-induced rural-urban migration is very much high. There is increasing risk of water scarcity in our cities. Urbanization occurs without industrialization and strong economic base. There is a massive growth of slum, followed by misery, poverty, unemployment, exploitation, etc., 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 right? And it affects the quality of life in urban areas. So the basic features of urbanization in India, it shows that most of the cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Hyderabad, Bangalore, they develop and they are very the urban population growth in urban population, but they are not in urban prosperity, as we can say. and there is a lot of problems of urban flooding and traffic congestion, pressure on basic infrastructure, extreme air pollution, urban droughts, etc., etc. And more than 65% of the 7,933 urban settlements do not have any master plan, which is the statutory instrument to guide and regulate the development of cities. So this is a very much concern for the Indian cities. The other states like Goa, Gujarat, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, they almost attained more than 40% of growth in urbanization during last 1 decade. So it is very much concerned, and more than 75% of the urban population live in 10 cities like Maharashtra, UP, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Kerala. Can you move please to the next slide? Okay. Now, what is the requirement for sustainable urban development? So it is the World Economic and Social Survey in 2013 said categorically that a sustainable urban development is one that meets the needs of its dwellers without putting unsustainable pressure on the natural resources on which it depends both locally and globally. So now I want to focus on local environment, right? Because sustainable development, not only it affects the global environment, but also it affects the local environment. And if our environmental etiquettes for the sustainable urban development is locally developed well and managed well by the local government, NGOs, participation of the people, and different community organizations and different industrialist businessmen. So we can have a good and sustainable environment, urban environment. Can you move to the next slide?
Sir, you're requested to wind up. You have the last 1 minute.
Yeah. So these are most of our sustainable development goals. Goal number 11. It is like make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And the other goals which are included in the sustainable development goals includes goal number 6, 7, 9, 12, and 13 are also we can relate to the sustainable urban development. Next slide. Okay, next. These are some of the case studies. So the role of urban local bodies, NGOs, and local citizens. Next slide. So the environmental etiquettes for sustainable urban development. Now I want to focus on the framework of the environmental etiquettes. Next slide. Yes. So this is the major work on in my research paper, that this is the framework to achieve how to achieve the sustainable development goals related to sustainable urban development. So on the left hand side, the policymakers, and the right hand side, respondents. So the policymakers and respondents both are the stakeholders in environmental etiquettes to achieve the sustainable development goals. The urban local government, city administration, and government finance institutions, these are the policymakers, and the collaboration of this for environmental etiquettes. On the respondent side, the collaboration of civil society, NGOs, or private sector academicians, research institutes, and private finance institutions. And by collaborating of all these institutions, we can achieve environmental etiquettes. And these are the points that flexible and collaborated urban governance. There are more than 11 points in this PPT, in this slide, and we can achieve the main goal of sustainable urban development, that is goal number 11, sustainable cities and communities, and rest of the goals related with the environmental sustainable urban development, that goal number 6, 7, 9, 12, and 13. So the major conclusion of this paper is that move to the next slide, that we can do a lot of things. The government of India, central government of India, has introduced a lot of schemes like Swachh Bharat Mission, Urban Nagar 1 scheme, Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, there is Amrut, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Smart Cities Mission, etc., etc. But there are a lot of things we can do to change our attitude, our value systems, to increase the environmental conservation and preservation of biodiversity and ecosystem, urban ecosystem. So the local leadership, both political and administrative leadership, private institutions, as well as academic and research institutions, will have to follow certain self-rules which will save the environmental resources for the benefit of the future generations. And next slide. In the last, I would like to say that, next slide, that if you can't clean your surroundings, then don't make it dirty. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we will be moving on to the 2-minute Q&A round. Chanchal ma'am and Kavita ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Yeah, Thank you so much. It was a good attempt made by Sachin. I would just like to ask you that why didn't you go into the factors which would be contributing to sustainable development of cities, like some quantitative analysis you could have done. We understand the concept as such. We all know that cities have to be planned well. We have to provide basic services, infrastructure, affordable housing to all. Population is increasing, and it's multiplying at a great speed, and majority of people would be living in cities by 2045, 2050, and we all know, but we have to identify certain factors which have to be taken care of for the sustainable development of cities. It is because majority of the GDP is contributed by the urban cities. They are the, you can say, the happening places where most of the activity takes place, right?
Yes.
And if we have to achieve sustainable development, then we have to increase productivity, we have to allow innovations, we have to allow new ideas. So we have to see that how it can be done for sustainable development. That is important. So just that, all right, we have to keep it clean and have some basic etiquettes, it's okay. But you should go more into the depth of the study. So I would request you to take up all these factors for further study, and
Yes, definitely.
do some analysis, some quantitative analysis.
Yes, definitely, ma'am. Actually, I could go for that, but I would say that my paper is always descriptive and theoretical. So I will try my best to put your ideas and do the quantitative analysis for future research. Thank you for your suggestion.
And thanks, Dr. Sachin. It was a good presentation. I just want to add one point because we are running short of time. So like Dr. Chanchal said, we were expecting you to present a framework of how to achieve the sustainable development, because it looked like more of a status quo, what is at present existing. So I think you have already said that you would try to incorporate those quantitative analysis, and I think a framework would be good in which you suggest how to go for sustainable development or the urban sustainable development which you mentioned. So that is all from my end as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shah. Dr. Shah, I just wanted to know that
Yes,
the
yes.
framework which you have shown, it was already taken from some framework, or it was made by you?
No, it was mine.
It
I
was
made
yours?
it. Yes.
Take it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next participant is Ms. Nisha Gupta, presenting a paper on socio-economic determinants of fruits and vegetable consumption, insights from a survey in Delhi. Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Kavita madam, Nisha is audible or not? Chanchal madam, can you?
Yeah,
Yes, she is audible.
she is audible.
Good morning, everyone present here. Today, I'll be presenting a paper titled Socioeconomic Determinants of Fruits and Vegetable Consumption, Insights from a Survey in Delhi, under the eminent guidance of Dr. Mahua Bhattacharjee and Dr. Anandita Roy Saha. Okay, I can change the slides from here.
Please speak out the number of your paper, please.
It's number 3, ma'am. Socioeconomic determinants of fruits and vegetables.
Madam, I
No,
would
no,
request
it's
you that why this actually it is, I think it is not aligning with the mark sheet which we have given, right? Is it,
okay, okay,
Yes.
okay,
madam?
okay, okay. I'll add it. I'll add it.
Yeah, please. I think in your mark, this evaluation sheet which we have given, it is not matching. So you do one thing, only you give the number. We are aligning that information. Okay, madam?
ठीक है, ठीक.
ठीक है, madam. आप इनको 3 नंबर दे दीजिए.
So ma'am, just to reiterate, I'm Nisha and my title is Social Vegetable Consumption. Can I go ahead?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the flow of the presentation would be introduction followed by objectives and methodology, some findings and results, and the scope for further research. To introduce my topic, according to 2017 census, India has 34% of its population residing in urban areas, and Delhi being one of the most urbanized cities. From there follows the nutrition transition concept that National Food Consumption Statistics also mentioned, that because of the urban transition, there has been a change in the consumption pattern of both the urban and the rural consumers, primarily because of rising incomes, increasing urbanization, changing food preferences, opportunity costs of time to women participating in workforces. Within the food basket, transition has been observed towards more the HVAP products, which are primarily fruits, vegetables, milk and milk products, meat, fish, and eggs. As I mentioned, because of change in disposable income, lifestyles, awareness about health, etc. According to the NSSO report, the last NSSO report 11-12, the MPCE has increased from 33 to 43.6% in rural and 40 to 47.4% in urban areas. Also, the production India is now heading the production in the fruits and vegetable sector, so which therefore is in response with the increasing demand for these products. The objective of the study was primarily to assess the current consumption pattern of fruits and vegetables with respect to the monthly expenditure on these food items, monthly and weekly, frequency and quantity of consumption, and to test the hypothesis in terms of the effect of the socioeconomic factors like age, gender, education, occupation, number of members in the family, monthly income of the monthly income, area, on the basis of the different districts in Delhi, and weekly expenditure on the consumption pattern behavior of fruits and vegetables. This is just to give you an idea about the data collection in terms of the distribution in terms of age, sex, education, family size, occupation, and monthly income. Descriptive analysis and Crystal Wallace has been used in terms of data analysis, primarily because of the non-parametric nature of the data collected. To move on to the results, so the results will be primarily divided into 3 parts. The first would be the consumption pattern and preferences. The second would be factors which are affecting the consumption. And third would be to study the effect of the socio-economic determinants. So to begin with the first section, which is the consumption pattern and preferences, the survey reveals that consumers surveyed amongst the consumers surveyed, 87.1% consumed insufficient quantities of vegetables, and for fruits and percentage stood for fruits it stood for 59.2, and at vegetables it stood for 87.1%. This is against the WHO recommendations of 400 grams of fruits and vegetables per day, which is also reiterated by the ICMR NIN for the Indian population as well. Primarily, another very important finding here was that consumers prefer to buy from the street hawkers primarily along with the local vendors, and supermarkets are not yet the go-to areas to shop for primarily for the fruits and vegetables. The reasons highlighted here were because these are easily available across the variety is available sufficiently amongst the street hawkers. The seasonal variety is easily available, it's fresh, the prices are more being reasonable, and the physical contact and touch with the seasonal hawkers is much more valuable to the customers. So that was highlighted as one of the reasons. In terms of organic consumption, people have become a little more aware, but still they are not completely buying. So they are preferring to buy fruits and vegetables which are organic, but they are not still buying. So conventional purchase is there, but currently they are purchasing conventional. Primarily, again, the reasons highlighted there were the paucity of time, because the organic is not available in all the areas in Delhi. Number two, they are not aware about what type of organic brands they should be going for. And obviously, expensiveness was one attribute which was given to the organic products. In terms of the frequency of consumption, also, we see that although the vegetables and fruits are consumed primarily on a daily basis, but fruits particularly, if you see, are only 50%, 54% of customers are, kind of consuming them daily. There are in fact 5% who are not even consuming on a regular basis. So rarely is something that they are consuming. Again, paucity of suitable time during the day, affordability, and non-liking for the fruits in general were given as the reasons. Apple, banana, papaya were the most widely consumed fruits against the pineapples and pomegranates, again, because of the all-round season availability, comparatively cheaper fruits. Owing to the technology disruption and COVID-19 lockdowns, 54.6% of the consumers have started to explore online portals for purchasing fruits and vegetables. Going on to the next in terms of factor affecting the fruits and consumption. So on the basis of the literature reviewed, these were some of the factors which were analyzed in order to study the attributes which are affecting the fruits and vegetable consumption, out of which health and nutrition stood out most importantly. So health and nutrition stood out most importantly, followed by the taste and freshness in terms of the sensory appeal, and also in terms of the natural content. So how much are they pesticide free, no additive content, etc., were also coming out to be important. Convenience in terms of availability and preparation was also an important consideration. Surprisingly, price was not a major consideration for most of the middle and high income group consumers belonging to more than rupees 25,000 per month category. This table shows primarily the Kruskal's-Wallis analysis, which has been undertaken in order to study the difference across the socio-economic groups, the socio-demographic factors. Within these factors, how much are these variables kind of affecting the variation basically. So it was found that higher the income group, higher was the frequency of consumption, willingness to pay for organic, and demand for pesticide-free fruits and vegetables. Different kinds of occupation only had a significant impact on the willingness of the consumers to pay more for organic fruits and vegetables, and were found insignificant for all the other attributes. Frequency of consumption and willingness to pay for organic also varied significantly on the basis of the weekly budgeted expenditures on this food category. There was a significant statistical difference between gender and frequency of consumption and the source of purchase also. Health, convenience, and natural content as attributes were also significantly impacted by the gender. So just to kind of summarize the overall findings here, fruits and vegetables are consumed on an average on a daily basis by the consumers, but the intakes are much low as recommended against the recommendations. Health and nutrition were the most important benefit that they sought when consuming, followed by the freshness and taste and the convenience. Local vendors, street hawkers were the most preferred source of fruits and vegetables. Major reasons, as I mentioned, were the all-round availability, seasonality, the freshness, prices being more reasonable. Apart from that, lack of affordability, availability, awareness of organic brands were some of the reasons cited for not a very encouraging organic consumption in Delhi, at least. Consumer choices were examined then to determine the effect of gender, age, level of education, within which it was found that gender and education had a statistical significant difference effect on several consumer preferences, including frequency of fruits and vegetable consumption, preferred source of purchase, organic consumption, as well as health, freshness, and additive free as attributes. In order to conclude, therefore, the primary data would serve as a baseline from which the researchers can therefore track that how the changes in the food environment can affect the fruits and vegetables purchasing and consumption over time. Government can partner with the private companies, especially the food startups which are coming up now, can act as one of the, they can act as an area where they can be removing the middlemen, and therefore the access of fresh fruits and vegetables at reasonable prices can be directly sourced to the consumers. Technological innovations in terms of hydroponics, kitchen gardening, community gardening should be encouraged, especially for fruits and vegetables. Therefore, In order to kind of extend the research, some scope for further research would be to take a detailed study about behavioral attitudes towards FNV consumption, to introduce relevant nudging initiatives to encourage its consumption, to understand the production aspects and supply chain of FNV will help in ensuring availability of good quality FNV at affordable prices, because traceability has become one major issue that customers are looking for. Studies on other state level performances on consumption patterns can be undertaken in order to encourage best practice sharing, especially the southern cities like Bangalore, where organic and kitchen gardening, community gardening, etc., is something which has been on a high rise and is encouraged as well. So that is all from my side. I will look forward to some valuable inputs and questions from the chairpersons and
Yeah, thank you, Nisha. You made a very good presentation. It was really a very relevant topic for the conference, and you have included almost every thing in your presentation. But I would just like to add that apart from having some government plans for the organic farming and awareness about it, one thing is there that of course the food has to be fortified with nutrients, and we have to reduce basically the food loss which has been taking place in India, and also basically expand the nutrition education, right? So if you could include that in your study, that how we can take this factor into the analysis, that what's the response after taking into account the food nutrition education to the respondents. I think that will make it wholesome. So that's all. Thank you so much. It was really a very good presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Same from my side as well. It was a very nice presentation, and I don't have any additional questions. Thank you so much for presenting this work.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next participant is Ms. Priti Prasad, presenting a paper on determinants of micro-entrepreneurship among women, SHG members, insights from an empirical study in Sikkim. Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Ma'am, can I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Just doing it.
Yeah, Priti Prasad is from School of Social Science, Sikkim University. So welcome.
Visible?
Welcome, Priti Prasad. Madam, I think Priti Prasad's name is there in number 9 in program structure.
No, it is fourth.
It's then in your mark sheet, it is, in evaluation sheet, it is 4th, right?
Yeah, it's 4th.
Fine. It's growing right. Okay, fine. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's 4th.
Smriti, please go ahead.
Okay, is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Good morning. I'm Smriti Prasad. The topic of my presentation is determinants of micro-entrepreneurship among women SHG members, insight from empirical study in Sikkim. This is part of my PhD thesis being pursued under supervision of Professor Manish Chaubir from the Department of Economics, Sikkim University. Let us move to the introductory part. The role of SHG as provider of formal financial services to the rural poor, and thereby relieving them from dependence of exploitative usury has indeed remained praiseworthy. And apart from this, SHG has played an instrumental role in reducing depth of poverty, enhancing women's agency both in home and outside, food security, increasing skilled employment, as well as rural development. However, mere provision of microfinance to the rural poor is not enough to bring about sustained poverty alleviation, because most of the members, what do they do with the loan money? That they use it for consumption rather than production purpose. So it is said that relevant livelihood training should be provided for micro-entrepreneurship promotion. However, the outcome of such training program has remained mixed. There are one set of studies which say that there has been positive impact of training on micro-entrepreneurship, while the other set of studies says that the impact of training has remained modest. So the topic of our research is to find, the objective is to find factors determining adoption of micro-entrepreneurship among women SHG members in Sikkim. Our study area is Sikkim. It is the smallest northeastern state of India. It is landlocked by Tibet, Bhutan, West Bengal, and Nepal. Its area is 7,096 square kilometers and population is 0.67 million. Now let us see the SHGs in Sikkim. The earliest SHGs in Sikkim was traced in late 90s, and the promoting institution was National Cooperative Union of India. However, a major boost in formation of SHGs was seen in April 1999 with the launch of Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana. However, through time, several loopholes in this program was observed, and this SDSY was reformulated into NRLM, which was launched in 2010 and 11. And so later in 2016, it was renamed as Day NRLM. Until November 2019, NRLM was operational only in 2 districts of Sikkim, namely East Sikkim and North Sikkim. However, the other 2 districts were taken care of by NERLP. But in November 2019, NERLP took exit from Sikkim, and all the 4 districts, SHGs of all the 4 districts came under direct supervision of National Rural Livelihood Mission. So let us see the statistics of SHG in Sikkim. In Sikkim, there are total 5,146 SHGs having 51,668 members, which consist of 1,754 members from West Sikkim, 1,527 members from South Sikkim, 1,501 members from East Sikkim, and 364 members from North Sikkim. We have followed a cluster sampling procedure for the sampling procedure. First, we have taken Sikkim as a state. We have considered all 4 districts of Sikkim. From each block, from each district of Sikkim, we have randomly selected 1 block. From each previously selected block, we have randomly selected 1 Gram Panchayat unit. From each Gram Panchayat, from each previously selected Gram Panchayat unit, we have selected 2 villages as cluster of SHGs. Now from there, we select all the SHGs whose age is at least 3 years, and from these SHGs, we interview all the SHG members whose association with SHG has remained at least for 3 years. So in this way, we arrive at 416 SHG members from 40 self-help group from 8 villages of Sikkim. Now let us define the concept of self-help group. As per NAPAD, a self-help group is a group of 10 to 20 members coming from similar socio-economic background who meet on regular basis and save a small amount of money regularly. When this amount of money is saved, it is accumulated to a certain amount to form a considerable group corpus, then it is used for interloaning at an interest rate which is previously determined by the group members themselves, and they even keep the book of accounts. Now let us define the definition of, let us see the definition of microenterprise used in this study. Taking a cue from contemporary studies in this domain, we define a microenterprise as self-employment activity, mostly informal, related to petty business, agriculture, and allied activities pursued mainly by rural women to supplement household income. As the size of the enterprise is minuscule, the use of paid workforce is negligible, and the owner herself manages almost all the associated chores. It's worthwhile to clarify here that by agriculture, we refer only to those cash crops which were encouraged by self-help group promoting institutions instead of traditional agriculture, which is not included in our definition. Now, let us define the training program. Here we are talking about the livelihood training program, which is provided to the self-help group members. The purpose of such training program is to promote livelihood by providing their knowledge about the new livelihood or upgrading the existing micro enterprises. The duration of these programs are generally 1 to 2 weeks and up to 1 month also. Or generally these programs, in some cases at the in some cases, the managed by self-help group promoting institutions. These are the organizing agencies and collaborating agencies. These are the list of variables that has been used for we have used this is the model specification. We have used logistic model and count regression. Out of 400,
I'm sorry for interrupting.
43% of them have taken at least one training program. 45.66 the response. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay, so
Sorry
we
for
see the
interrupting.
respondents' age group.
Excuse
Yes,
me,
ma'am.
sorry for interrupting, Kavita here. So I could not hear you clearly during the last 2-3 minutes. Just wanted to know whether if it's for everyone or there is network problem at my end.
So even I'm finding it difficult to listen to her. There is some network issue, I think.
Okay, okay. Thanks, Dr. Chanchal.
Now is it okay, ma'am? The network.
I think you are getting frozen in between some
Yeah.
network issues there. No worries, please continue.
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead, Smriti.
I'll go to the 54.33% of respondents have taken livelihood training program, while 45.67% of them had not taken any training program. Most of the respondents belong to age group 31 to 40, which is followed by 41 to 50. If you look at the education status, we find that most of them have high school. 38.22% of the population of the sample have a high school education, while 25% of them have a primary education. Very few, that is 3.61% of them have education of college and above. If you look at the caste, most of the respondents that
Sorry for interrupting, ma'am.
0.9
Minutes are left. Wind up.
Okay. So I'll directly move on to the regression results. From here, we find that training is significantly affecting the number of enterprises. Land holding and loan also show significant and positive impact on opting for micro enterprises and having higher number of micro enterprises. If the respondents belong, they have higher likelihood to opt for a micro enterprise as compared to the base category. We don't find any significant results in case of education and caste and SERPA, then they are less likely to opt for micro enterprises and have lower number of micro enterprises. If the respondents are relatively likely to opt for micro enterprises and have higher micro enterprises, if we see the number of dependent members, higher the number of dependent members, the lesser is the chance to opt for a micro enterprises and have lower number of micro enterprises. If the respondents belong to North Sikkim and South Sikkim, then they have really and have a lower number of micro enterprises. The conclusion basically summarizes the results. So I'll move on to the policy. The policy shows that first and foremost, the government agencies as well as the concerned NGOs should enhance their initiative to mobilize more and more members. Secondly, it was observed that funds borrowed from SHG acted as an enabler in starting a micro enterprise. Efforts should be taken by government agencies to reduce the rate of interest on the loan advance for entrepreneurial activities. Thirdly, and most important, enabling women members in diversifying into multiple number of micro enterprises, the SHPIs should upscale their training programs and conduct it more often. These are the references.
Ma'am, you're requested to wind up. We will be moving on to the Q&A after this.
Chanchal ma'am, Kavita ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Yeah,
Ma'am,
yeah, thank you.
I have the questions.
Thank you, Smriti. It was a very good presentation on micro entrepreneurship among women self-help groups. Women entrepreneurs can, really cross over the male-dominated sectors today. So it is very, very relevant to venture into this topic. And what I want to tell you is that in many countries, they are, through gender innovation labs, trying to find out some smart solutions and close really the gender gap with respect to the productivity, earnings, and, the functioning of women entrepreneurs. So therefore, it's very relevant that we look at the training programs and identify the sectors in which women can outperform men. And in your study, you have taken the factors which will help in graduating these women from self-help groups to micro entrepreneurs. It's very important. But if you could take into account the government facilities available, you make that as one of the factors, I think that will add to your analysis, right? Otherwise, you really made a very good presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Smriti, congratulations. You really made a very nice presentation. So I am also working with many women entrepreneurs from Northeast, and I would like to say that one of the determinants is social inclusion as well. For the land rights, the property ownership rights. So whether women have an access to it, what is the situation in Sikkim, because in the northeastern states also the social inclusion or the gender inclusion, it varies from state to state. So how these factors are also affecting the self-help groups, and because you are doing a study around all the major determinants. So I really like the way with which you arrived at a sample size and the sample design. Basically, it was very much clear. You had a very defined approach of moving logically. But since you are documenting the determinants, so I think the socioeconomic determinants, and as Dr. Chanchal said, that what are the provisions which are provided by the government? So how are they facilitating or impacting or affecting women to take up micro enterprises? So your study is already very well defined, but making it more inclusive, bringing it more, making it more socioeconomic inclusive, I think these determinants will also add on to your study. Apart from that, if you can also give some suggestions, some practical suggestions, how more women can be encouraged, what best support measures can be extended to these women community, that would also be great. So thank you so much for the presentation. It was really nice.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I think our fifth presenter is Sustainable Agriculture Practice and Barriers of Their Approaches in India, Dr. Dheeraj Kadam. Okay, Dheeraj Kadam is not there. Then we have got impact of skill development on quality of life of people. Parvez Ali did not respond now. Nexus between trade openness and sustainable development, Sweetie Soni. Yeah, so may I welcome, may I request Sweetie Soni to please come forward. So Chanchal madam, it's a presentation number 7.
Okay.
Kavita madam, I hope I made myself clear. It's it's presentation number 7. इसको unshare कर दो जिन्होंने भी share किया है.
In my sheet, 7th is data analytics and agriculture.
Yeah, I was about to say
4.0.
it's 7th is otherwise today's presentation number, not in the sheet.
Okay,
Sheet,
the flow with which we are going.
Yeah, it's the 7th presentation.
Evaluation
for the day.
sheet
No,
के
no.
हिसाब से-
It's going to be 5th presentation, I suppose.
Fifth
Yes,
presentation.
yes.
Fifth.
फिफ्थ प्रेजेंटेशन तो मैडम धीरज कदम है. धीरज कदम नहीं है,
हाँ.
स्वीटी सोनी है. नेक्सस बिटवीन
हाँ,
ट्रेड.
हाँ.
Okay, so to avoid any confusion, I'm putting serial number 7 and then marking.
Okay.
That's better. 7.
Yeah.
Nexus
Okay.
between trade openness and sustainable development.
So a very good morning to one and all. So today I am here to.
Madam, is it audible? Can you hear, sweetie?
Yeah.
All right. So
We can hear.
So today I'm here to present on the topic that is the nexus between the trade openness and the sustainable development. So according to the World Trade Organization and the World Bank, there is a strong association between the international trade and the sustainable development. International trade can lead to promote innovation, form capital, improve productivity, and make the allocation of resources in a more efficient and a provident manners. So in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development recognize international trade as an engine for the inclusive economic growth and poverty reduction, which are one of the main SDGs goals as well. So as a supportive international trade environment is crucial as it leads to promote the sustainable development through the international trade liberalization, making trade more environment supportive and providing the adequate financial resources to develop the countries dealing with the international trade. It also encourages the macroeconomic policies to be more friendly towards the environment and on the development front as well. So country exports and imports are very important in determining the effectiveness of trade, as it is a mean of implementing a development. The trade openness, which is basically calculated as the sum of the exports and imports per GDP. And it influences the aspects of sustainability in a varieties of ways, both favorable and unfavorable. So the trade openness can be considered as an important structural adjustment program that has been supported by the World Bank and the International Monetary Funds. So as we already aware that the Indian economy witnessed a major trend in the policy in the year 1990, where it opened the financial trade and the foreign investment. And moving on with that, the objective of my study are basically to assess the effect of the trade openness on the economic growth in India, as well as to assess the effect of the trade openness on the environment quality in India. These two are the major pillar. These two are one of the major pillar of the sustainability development. So the research methodology that had been adopted is that I have selected the year 2000 to 2019, and the data has been obtained by the World Bank and the RBI. Keeping in mind the selection of the time period is basically considered in mind that since in the year 1990, the trade policy has been
going very fast.
Okay. So keeping in mind that that in the year So keeping in mind that in 1990s, the Indian economy opened up the trade. So I assume that in the 10 period, there is a structural break and the policy need time to execute. So I consider the main focus in my 21st century time period, that has been 2000 to 2019. I does not include the 2020 time period, as we can hardly witness the impact of the COVID and it will lead to manipulate my data. So the variables that have been chosen in the study is that firstly, I consider the economic growth as an proxy used for the GDP per capita. Next is the per capita carbon dioxide emission is used as an indicator for the environment quality, followed by the FDI inflows are been measured as a share of GDP per FDI. The trade openness, as I already explained, is used as the ratio of exports plus imports to the GDP. The share of the gross fixed capital formation in the GDP assign the value of the domestic investment. The energy consumption per capita has been used as the EUC, and the financial development is proxied by the ratio of the credit according to the private sector. So for this analysis, I have been more center focused on the time series analysis. So firstly, I check whether all the variables that have been included are stationary or not, and for that I use the unit root test. Secondly, to estimate the short run relationship, I use the Granger test. And moving on with that, for the third one, I use the long elasticity, to test the long-term elasticity, I use the co-integration test. So these are basically my result for the unit root test. And I use the argumented degree full test to find out the unit root test. And the result shows that none of the variables is integrated of order 2, and they are stationary at the levels or at the first differences. Thus, it includes that my findings are robust and they suggest the use of ARDL, which is known as the auto-regression distributed lab model co-integration technique without any doubt. Moving on that, the first model or the objective that has been talking about is the economic growth model. So under that, I have used the GDP C as the independent variable, as the dependent variables, and the other factors like the energy consumption, GFCS, that is the gross capital formation, FDIs, and trade openness. So in the short run and the long run analysis, I can easily say that all the factors are firstly significant at the respective range that has been marked as the stars. So in the short run and the long run, the elasticity is positive and signified, implies that the domestic investment played its role in creating the economic output and increasing the economic activity in both short term and the long run in the Indian economy. Moving on with that, the FDI is also significant, and it leads to the hypothesis that is valid, that the FDI could be due to the implementation of the trade liberalization policy. Also, the similar results can be seen from the energy used and the further trade openness. Last but not the least, the FD. The FD induced has been showing the negative signs, but it is also the significant imply that the Indian financial system demands a better regulation and the organized to be in a more better, efficient manner in order to grab the better results of the economic growth. Moving on with that, the environment quality model. Under that, the short run and the long run elasticities of the variables has been used. And in the GDP, as we can see that the GDP and FDI are not really significant, implies that they does not impact the environment, or more particularly the level of pollution. And moving on with that, the energy consumptions is positive and significant, indicating that the energy use is one of the main cause of the pollution, and it has been seen under the various other research as well. So, and similarly, the FD is again negative and significant, as it leads to reduce the carbon dioxide only in the long run. Moving on with that, the trade openness can be considered to be harmful, as we can see that it is positive. So moving on with that, the conclusion that has been made here is that the positive sides of the trade openness on the economic growth or the environment quality is not automatic. Some policies based on improving the investment in the technology and innovation, and as well as improving the productivity, should be there to adopt that the ability to adapt new skills should be accomplished to maintain the trade openness. Trade liberalization, therefore, not to be isolated to enhance the sustainable development, and the trade openness is the fundamental for the sustainable development, and they both goes hand in hand. and it helps to more efficiently allocate the scarce resources and facilitate the access to the environment technology. But keeping that in mind, most effective environment regulation should be enforced as to reduce the trade embodied emissions and reduce the pollution. So with that, I concluded my presentation.
It's open for question, madam.
Yeah, Sweetie, you made a very good presentation. One thing I would say that when you are trying to define sustainable development, I think it would be very good if you could take gross national product as, the dependent variable, because that is a better measure of sustainable development than GDP, right? And also when you are taking trade openness, rather than taking overall imports and exports as a percentage of GDP, it would be better if you could take imports of capital goods, basically, because again, that is a better explanatory variable which may contribute to sustainable development. And also, if you could include some also the lagged GDP or gross national product should also be one of the explanatory variables. I think your results would be better. Otherwise, you made a very good attempt, a very good presentation. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, thanks for the feedbacks. I will surely include those in my results furthermore.
Thank you.
Hi, I also want to add that the presentation was really nice, and the topic, the theme which you took is really relevant. But like Dr. Chanchal also said, I would like to say that if you could have done an analysis around the major commodities which have the major share in the pie of GDP or GNB in terms of renewable versus non-renewable resources, in terms of import and export, that are having an impact on our sustainability goals and the commitments that India is doing on the larger platform. Suppose it is on import of coal versus export of oil, just a random example. So doing an analysis around the nature of the commodities, whether they are renewable, non-renewable, then it would help you identify the impact they are having on the environment, because opening the trade versus having an impact on the sustainable development goals then would be more justified, and it would be a, I think, clear study around what are the major components in our trade liberalization, import versus export, that are impacting the SDGs and the environment goals on a in a larger picture. So this is my suggestion. I think this would also give a holistic approach to your presentation as well. Thanks.
Yes,
Thank you so much, madam. It was a very, very valuable comment, specifically for the students who have from economics background. You need to be technically very clear, because there's a difference between a GDP and sustainable development goal. So we'll be going to Baktawar Hassan. I hope she is there.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Baktawar.
Ma'am, actually, I had a surgery just a few days back. Can I please switch off my camera?
You can keep it, and also you can go straight to your object.
Please.
I just want to intimate our chairs. She has gone through a surgery, and so I would request you to please excuse her. She will not be able to.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The chair has allowed it. Thank you.
Good morning, one and all. Just give me a second. I'll be starting. Yeah. So the topic of my paper is Data Analytics and Agriculture 4.0, the way forward for sustainable development of agriculture in India.
Wait a minute, Baktawar, we could not see the topic. First of all,
yeah. So yeah, that's the
serial number 7.
It's at 7th number in the list.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. So this is my topic. So right now we are living in Industrial Revolution 4.0, where artificial intelligence, big data analytics, deep machine learning, cloud computing, and Internet of Things are in vogue. Simultaneously, the agriculture across the world is also undergoing a transformational shift, which has been termed as Agriculture 4.0. Can you please turn the slide, ma'am? Yeah. So now what is Agriculture 4.0? Simply saying the use of big data analytics, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, deep machine learning, and Internet of Things in agriculture, they can be termed as Agriculture 4.0. So the need for Agriculture 4.0, why do we need it? So by 2050, the world needs 70% more food compared to what we are producing right now. However, there are significant issues before our population of 9 billion, which it will be in 2050, it turns into a population bomb. As of now, the agriculture share of global GDP has shrunk to just 3%, which is 1/3 of its contribution just 3 decades ago. In India, the GDP share of agriculture is fast shrinking and is estimated to come down from current 16% to around 5% by 2035. This is according to the Economic Survey 2020. And globally, 8% of the world's population is undernourished. And in India, this goes to 16%. This is according to the National Family Health Survey 5th report. Around 38% of the children in India, they are stunted, that is low height for age, and another 22% they are wasted, that's low weight for age. Thus the agriculture in India, it definitely needs a transformational shift. Ma'am, can you please turn the slide? Yeah. So therefore there is a strong need to adopt agriculture 4.0. Ma'am, can you please shift the slide? So now what is agriculture? Now agriculture 4.0, it will no longer depend on applying water, fertilizers, and pesticides uniformly across the fields. Instead, farmers, they'll use the minimum quantities required and they'll target specific areas. Then it will be possible to grow crops in arid areas, making use of abundant and clean resources. Other innovations like the 3D printing of foods, cultured meat, genetic mod, the cultured meat, which is in Singapore, that's a lab meat, which is the cultured meat, which will actually decrease the cattle slaughtering, and that will have an impact on global warming as well. It will definitely decrease the global warming. So now other innovations like the 3D printing of foods, they are still in early stage, but that could be a game changer in the next decade. Now, by challenging the traditional legacy model and pursuing such as program governments they can ensure food security and reduce the dependency on imports, become a net exporter not only on products but also give new solutions. They can increase the productivity and support the shift towards an innovation and knowledge-based economy. Now, the traditional approach of the food industry is undergoing a fundamental transformation. The first technology revolution in agriculture, it made impressive strides between 1961 and 2004. Cereal yields in India, they rose by 2.8% a year, or over 300% over the period. That was enabled actually by the modern farming practices. Now, the three general trends where technology is disrupting the industry that we'll address, showing specific examples of solutions with high potential to disrupt the system, is produce differently using the different and new technologies, use new technologies to bring food production to consumers, increasing the efficiency in the food chain, incorporate cross-industry technology and application. Now, data collection and the methodology. The secondary data was collected from different government agencies. Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption. I can still see the introduction slide only on my screen.
Yeah. Can you please shift the slide, ma'am? Yeah. So this is the data collection and methodology. The secondary data was collected from different government agencies like Coffee Board of India, the government of Karnataka, and several Indian IoT startups for agriculture sector were tracked. Some of them were Vifinity and the rest of them. The data from these startups and agencies were collated qualitatively to understand the level of preparedness of the Indian agriculture system to embrace the fourth industrial revolution. Now, the first case study of this Agriculture 4.0 is the case of Coffee Board of India. So basically, the Coffee Board of India is one of the first government agencies in the country to have a production blockchain platform. So now, what is it's a blockchain? It's a distributed ledger in which information is stored in blocks, and it is decentralized and validated by the customers. The Coffee Board has developed a mobile app and a web portal with support from the Eka Software Solutions. The coffee supply chain, it's highly fragmented in India with intermediaries such as farmers, traders, roasters, and other processors. So in the past few years, the global coffee prices, they have stumbled. To remedy the solution, the Coffee Board has turned to blockchain and its ability to imputably track and trace products in supply chain. So basically, it's coffee from the farm to directly to the mug. That's the kind of approach for the coffee in India right now. So the blockchain, it offers unmatched traceability and it increases the transparency, accountability, and efficiency of the coffee supply chain. So which definitely leads to fair pricing and transparency. The blockchain marketplace for farmers is expected to eliminate middlemen, and it allows a direct contact between the farmer and the consumer. So it will also lead to premiumization of the Indian coffee. Now, the second case study for this for Agriculture 4.0 is the case of Karnataka government. The government of Karnataka, they have signed a memorandum of understanding with Microsoft Corporation India. The collaboration, it aims to enable these farmers with technology-oriented solutions that will help them increase income using ground-breaking cloud-based technologies, machine learning, and advanced analytics. Microsoft, with guidance from Karnataka Agriculture Price Commission, is attempting to develop a multivariant agricultural commodity price forecasting model considering the following data sets: historical sowing area, production, the yield, the weather data sets, and other related data sets. You know, Microsoft, they'll guide the farmers with a price forecasting, with the weather forecasting. It is also aimed at using digital tools that have the potential to deliver cutting-edge innovations and artificial intelligence to help farmers get higher cropping yields in the state. Now, the blockchain technology for the land records, government of Andhra Pradesh. In India, blockchain was first introduced in Andhra Pradesh, and they collaborated with Cromway, a Sweden-based company, to build the software for improving the land registration process using blockchain technology. The advantages of the technology are the land registry in blockchain, the property owner can automatically check their own whether they are eligible to transfer the legal ownership to others. The banks can also check the status of the current legal owner of the asset over the blockchain platform, which is helping the small and the marginal farmers to get loans. The verification of property and the land records becomes very accessible and very easy. The purchase of land or asset gets executed by using a smart contract, and the seller transfers the ownership of the buyer without taking the services of the intermediary. The payment process automatically gets completed by transferring the amount from the buyers to the seller's bank account. Everyone, buyer, seller, and the bank can verify the status of the contract over the blockchain smart contract platform. Now, the challenge in adopting Internet of just give me a second now. So the poor net internet connectivity in farms, most farms are located in remote locations where internet connectivity might not be strong enough to facilitate fast transmission speeds. Furthermore, communication lines may be obstructed by crops, canopies, and other physical barriers. The other one is high hardware costs. Presently, farmers rely on sparsely distributed network of sensors to gather data on farm conditions. Disrupted connectivity to the cloud. Like any other IoT system, FarmBeats is centered on a cloud computing system, in this case, Microsoft's Azure platform. However, the internet connectivity at farmers' houses is often not strong enough to stream big data sets to the clouds for analytics. So in addition, there might be sources of interference on farms, which also have negative impacts on the connection to the cloud. So now the conclusion would be that the government should improve the, yeah, I'll straight away go to the conclusion slide. So the government should improve the ecosystem and enable the environment. Other financial incentives can be regulatory flexibility and provide infrastructural at an affordable price. They should incentivize farmers to adopt Internet of Things and Agriculture 4.0, improve spending on research and development in agriculture. They should also focus on improving startup culture in agriculture. So several steps can be considered in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you,
That's
ma'am.
all
Now
from
we'll
my
be
side.
moving to the Q&A session. Kavita, ma'am.
Yeah.
So your presentation was really nice, and I could also see the connect. It is very much relevant to the, I think, the kind of transformation the agriculture sector needs. My first question is, why did you name it Agriculture 4.0? And another question is that I really like the examples which you quoted from the government ecosystem. But just a value addition, I would like to tell you that apart from coffee and the other examples which you shared, the startup community is coming up with many AI and blockchain based solutions. Like you talked about coffee value chain, recently a startup, they have transformed the silk value chain in India, and a startup named Resha Mandi, they have come up and they are growing the silk market in the southern India in big ways. Similarly, people in agri-tech and precision agriculture, they are coming up with AI and blockchain-based technology to guide farmers in using the farm inputs very precisely and giving them all the weather advisory and other farm practices based on the AI-based algorithms and the blockchain technology. So if you want to give a complete look to your presentation, you can also quote examples from the startups and entrepreneurial community apart from the government solutions which are there. And I would just like to know, why not Agriculture 3.0, why 4.0?
Ma'am, actually, it's called Agriculture 4.0. Recently, we had a Kisan Mela going on in a local agriculture university here in my state. So that's where there was a guest who was actually discussing this, the case study of coffee value chain. He was actually trying to relate it with the horticulture production of apple here. So yeah, that's when I thought, okay, fine. Ma'am, actually, it's not related to my topic, my PhD topic, but yes, you know, I just liked it. I thought, oh, why not? I should just go through the different case studies and try to write a review paper. So it's actually a review paper. But yes, I will definitely incorporate those suggestions which you gave. Yes, definitely.
I appreciate the innovative and creative approach, but I think we should be very much clear about the topic, the theme that we are selecting. So we should be able to justify and give a reasonable, logic behind why we choose a particular topic.
Yes, ma'am, sure, ma'am. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, ma'am, sure.
What I would like to say is that when you are using 4.0, then you should include more factors contributing to sustainable development, which should have been included in the analysis. Like when you're talking about agriculture, you should know that 25% of greenhouse gas emissions are from agriculture and forest only. So you have to include this into your analysis and find out that what alternatives are available for sustainable development in agriculture. Like countries have been talking about crop rotations and alternative crops, so that they really do not pollute the air by agricultural cultivation. The food you're going to eat, the vegetables, fruits, they all will be affected by such greenhouse emissions. So we have to aim at reducing that. So when you're using 4.0, then you should take into account these factors also.
Yes, ma'am, sure, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am, for the valuable suggestions. I'll try to incorporate all of them.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next participant is Ms. Supriya David from IRTM Nagpur University, presenting a paper on smart cities for sustainable development in India, problems and prospects. Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Hello, am I audible to you?
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. A very good afternoon to the organizers, chairperson and co-chairperson. I am Supriya David, and the topic of my presentation is Smart Cities in India, Problems and Prospects. So to begin with, I would like to tell you that throughout the human history, urban settlements have been centers of business, talent, entrepreneurship, wealth, ideas, art, and culture. In 1800, only 3% of people lived in a city of 1 million or more. In 1950s, there were only 83 cities worldwide with populations over 1 million, and by 2000, there were 468. In April 2008, the world passed the 50% urbanization mark. So we know that more than half of the world's humanity is living in urban areas, and therefore path to sustainable development must pass through our cities. Undoubtedly, role and responsibility of cities is increasing in international debates of economy, environmental governance, and sustainability. They are estimated to contribute 70 to 80% of global gross domestic product, and likewise accountable for 70 to 80% of greenhouse gas emissions that cause global warming. The global urbanization trend is creating an urgency to find smarter ways to manage the accompanying challenges. UN Habitat forecasts that by 2050, global urban population would comprise 75% of the planet's humankind and seeks larger role of cities in upcoming sustainable development goals. The sustainable goals have set a goal to make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. In Goal 11 is one of the recent working group meetings, and India on its development pathway faces a similar urban challenge. According to the census of 2011, about 32% of the country's population lives in urban areas, as against 28% in 2001 and 17% in 1919. Projections of Census of India 2011 data suggested that urban population was about to grow at the pace of 2.83% from 340 million in 2008 to 590 million in 2030, living in at least 60 cities with a population of more than 1 billion. The union budget also earmarked huge allocation towards smart city development, and the government will also modernize existing mid-sized cities under the program. With development reaching an increasingly large number of people, the pace of migration from rural areas to cities is increasing. The new cities should be developed to accommodate the growing number of people. Otherwise, existing cities will soon become unlivable. Very soon, these advanced and intelligent human ecosystems are set to find their foot in India, but there were little details diverge on what the government perceives as a smart city and what would be the means and methods to achieve these smart cities in the next years. The Union Urban Development Ministry clarified that smart cities should bring quality of life with inclusivity. And hence, we have seen that there are certain lapses, that India does not have urbanization policy till now, and there are many challenges which revolves around the smart city mission. The smart city mission, as we know, is the second part of JNNURP. And
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. I would request the other participants who are not presenting right now to kindly mute their mics.
Excuse me, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Ma'am, you can continue. This was just a request for the other participants to mute their mics if they're not speaking.
Okay.
You can continue.
Okay. So, which is Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Rehabilitation Program. So this
is Dr. Supriya.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if I'm because we are slightly going out of time, so I would request, because we want to see your broad work, so that's why if you can go short or in theoretical discussion and go straight to your methodology and findings, so that you can get a qualitative input from our experts. So I was just suggesting, if you find it okay.
Okay. So
Yes,
I will actually proceed to the challenges associated with smart city mission. So smart city is a process rather than a state, I should say. It is not a linear process. And it has been observed that cities achieve different levels of maturity in different areas at different times. So the challenges which poses the smart city mission is number one, the chances of success. The biggest challenge with smart cities is the notion of special purpose vehicles, which are separate companies focusing on smart cities mission, which have been created in every city in the form of a limited company under the Companies Act 2013. And they are meant to corporatize the process of setting up a smart city, which is bypassing the democratic process. This goes against the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992, which provides autonomy to local bodies and encourages decentralization. This limits the power of local governments and states, thus trouncing federalism. Secondly, there seems to be complete lack of transparency in sharing information and relevant details about the implementation of projects, proposals, and success of projects in public domain. Thirdly, the mission of smart cities incentivize urban local bodies to focus more on competition, rather creating pressure on them to get additional resources. This pushes the urban local bodies to focus on projects that are low in priority in their cities and did not suit to their context. Urban local bodies, therefore, remain ill-equipped to govern in most urban areas because most of the functions remains under the control of the state governments. The overwhelming burden of centrally sponsored schemes are imposed on the cities who, due to lack of human resources and skills, hire consultants who are totally disconnected from people, thus hindering the very objective of democratic decentralization. This is only with the principles of decentralization, empowerment of urban local bodies through financial support and autonomy, coupled with participation of its citizenry, that a new urban environment can emerge. It remains to be seen where and how the handling of the project by a special private company succeeds. Number two, smart city mission is not participative and democratic. India, as we all know, has experienced a rapid influx of rural population to urban areas. The push for the new kind of urban space at a rapid pace with the increasing use of technology is leading to a different kind of concern of not being participative and democratic. Third, smart city mission lacks understanding of issues of sustainability. The biggest challenge which Indian cities are facing is not of smart development, but need for a sustainable development where ecological concerns are addressed, pollution is controlled, and resources are effectively and efficiently utilized. They lack understanding of issues of disasters and resilient building. It has been observed that city planning since decades has remained a mere technical formality. There is hardly any place for the city's geographical, economic, social, historical position and the specific needs of the people living there. Next, water, the basic necessity of life. One important common factor in all cities is
Sorry
the
to interrupt you, ma'am. You have just 1 minute to wind up. Then we'll move on to the Q&A round.
Okay, so to conclude, the Smart City Mission has created a new way of looking at issues and doing business in cities in India. All the smart city proposals are targeting a set of problems that are unique to city. An examination of the unique and common problems is likely to generate an important lessons for other cities. Indian cities have largely planned, developed without the intervention of professionals, architects, and urban planners, particularly at the area level. During the process of citizen participation, cities have also created new tools, particularly tools based on the use of information technology. So the projects in the smart cities can be used as mini studio laboratories where students and scholars are the learners, a sort of learning from practice to inform practice. Conventional practices combined with these real world laboratories might help urban planners to better understand the unique problems of Indian cities, generating a different approach towards the urban design of urban cities with little lessons from the West. A project database can also be created for application in other cities after its adaptation to the local context. This can also lead to opportunities for research when it comes to the interplay between the macro and micro scales through scaling up of area-based strategies to the city and region. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Supriya. You really made a very good effort, and there is no doubt that we have to make inclusive, resilient, and sustainable cities. But I would request you to really do some, quantitative analysis. A lot of data is available with respect to various parameters, and you can see the website of Niti Aayog also. So across cities in India, even outside India, by the World Bank, a lot of data is available with respect to various sectors like, electricity, water, medical facilities, and all that. So I think it will be very interesting if you make some quantitative analysis.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. I would definitely include. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So thank you, Supriya. It was very, to the point discussion. We can make more to the point analysis with the data review, because finally at the end of the day, we are from economics. And so as Chanchal madam is very particular, I told you earlier also, in ICIL conference, we co-invited her, and each of the paper, she was very critical, and she was very much particular that you have to go through by economics.
Yeah, really. Ma'am, I'm from public administration background.
Yeah. We understand. So that's what, because she's background economics, and so the requirement is always there. Nowadays, multidisciplinary research is preferred,
Yeah, really.
You can go ahead.
You are right.
So may I request now Ms. Rashi?
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next participant is Ms. Rashi Mathur from Amity School of Economics, presenting the paper on an empirical analysis of the feminization hypothesis in India. Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone, and the esteemed panelists. So the topic of my paper is an empirical analysis of the feminization hypothesis in India. To begin with the introduction, the prevalent hypothesis about the long-term relationship between economic development and FPRs is the U-shaped hypothesis. So it has been found consistent support in data and analysis since it was first proposed, and this applies to cross-country studies as well as to time series and panel studies. What this broadly states is that during the early stages of economic development, the FPRs declined due to the initial structural changes of the economy and the transition from an agricultural to an industrialized society, while it increases in later stages when countries mature into modern economies, fertility rate declines and female education rate increases. So the literature points to essentially 5 factors explaining the U-shaped hypothesis, which is the economic transformation of societies from agriculture to industry. Second is the increasing share of the female educated population. Thirdly, the long-term demographic changes, which includes the falling fertility rates. Fourth is the cohorts effects. And the fifth is the evolving gender norms and culture. So the paper essentially investigates the prevalent hypothesis of feminization, or the U-shaped hypothesis, in the context of India. The objective of the study is to primarily identify factors that affect the participation of females in the workforce, and then to develop an econometric model to trace out the existence of the U-shaped in India. So if the U-shaped hypothesis is confirmed, then the decline in female employment is just temporary and simply reflects the developmental process which would correct itself in the due course of time. But if the hypothesis is not supported, then the underlying cause of the decline needs to be explored. So the analysis is based on the perplexing existence of India's continual fall in female labor force participation rate despite continuous economic advancement. So the study uses a time series analysis on a set of secondary data collected from the World Bank Data Bank and applies OLS regression model on the software Gretel to draw conclusions. Simultaneously, trend analysis and graphs have been used for analysis, and deductive reasoning has been applied to reach to suggestions and conclusions. So moving on to the data and findings. Firstly, we begin with the identification of the variables. So first, there is the female labor force participation rate. So India is a worldwide economic powerhouse on a global scale. In 2017, it was deservedly crowned the world's fastest growing major economy, and it has maintained a strong rate of GDP growth since then. For the Indian women, however, the year was important for another reason. That is, it was the year in which the country's labor force participation rate for females plummeted to its lowest level. So the mass exodus is not unexpected. Women's involvement in the labor market has been steadily deteriorating for the past very many decades. But this also raises an odd conundrum that why isn't there a greater involvement of women in the workforce in a country with immense progresses? Next, we as a proxy for economic development, I have used GDP per capita. So females who are not in the labor force are underutilized human capital who reduce the country's potential economic progress. So several studies have shown that a low female labor force participation rate is a barrier to economic growth. So according to a 2015 research by the McKinsey Global Institute, India's GDP might expand by up to 60% by 2025 if women participated in the economy online with men. Moving on, according to World Bank data, the worldwide fertility rate has been steadily declining over the past 5 decades or so. The number of children per woman has nearly halved as a consequence of the society's modernization. The relationship between FLFPR and various other theories has also been investigated in various research papers. So having children naturally has an impact on women's capacity to work. So in general, most studies indicated a negative relationship between fertility and FLFPR. But on the other hand, for low and middle income households, having more children means more expenses, which may also prompt women to look for work in order to maintain a decent minimum standard of living. Moving on, a woman's decision to participate in the labor force is fundamentally determined by two sets of factors, which are those that affect the wages she can earn in the paid labor market, that is the market wage, and those that affect the reservation wage. So a primary determinant of the market wage is the level and quality of a person's human capital, most notably their education. So human capital theories claim that the employment rate and education have a positive linkage. So women with higher level of education would have a greater opportunity to raise their income, culminating in increased labor participation. In developing nations, however, the link between education and females' involvement in the labor force may be different. Economists estimate that the impact of education on labor force participation rates varies depending on the years of schooling. So the connection is thought to be in the shape of a U. Moving on, despite the fact that the pattern in India is perplexing, it is far from unique. So to take an example from Turkey, Turkey's female participation rate fell from 36.1% in 1989 to 23.3% in 2005, indicating a fall from a low starting point. So rising urbanization and structural transformation are to blame for this backward trend, that as households moved from rural to urban areas, husbands moved out of agriculture, resulting in a pull out of women from the labor force. In addition, compared to other emerging and developed countries, India's structural reform has taken a distinct path. The typical trend is that the agricultural sector shrinks at first, while the manufacturing sector sector's proportion of the economy rises, and then the service sector grows in the second stage. But India has seen a dramatic drop in the amount of the agricultural sector's contribution to the economy, but no comparable increase in manufacturing. Next, unemployment is another significant factor influencing female labor force participation. It can have an impact on women's capacity to enter the labor market. So if there is a high percentage of female unemployment, many women will be discouraged from entering the workforce altogether. So besides the variables mentioned, a number of other variables also contribute to forming the female labor force participation rate of a country, such as wages, marital status, cultural background, societal norms, etc. However, these have been excluded from the study because of them being directly unobservable and due to data limitations. Moving on to the based on the identified determinants of the female labor force participation rate in India, a basic econometric time series model is formed, wherein white is the female labor force participation rate, and variables such as the log of GDP per capita, the square of the log of GDP per capita, fertility rate, primary school enrollments, secondary school enrollments, and urbanization and unemployment have been taken as variables. So for the feminization hypothesis to hold true in India, the coefficient B should be less than 0.
Can we request you to please, wind up?
Okay,
little bit, huh?
Okay. Sure. So for the feminization hypothesis to hold true, the coefficient B should be less than 0 and the coefficient C should be greater than 0, implying a U-shaped relationship between the female labor force participation and the economic development, for which we have taken the GDP per capita. But however, our results prove the exact opposite, with the coefficient of the GDP per capita being positive and the coefficient of the square of GDP per capita equally being negative. So these results suggest an inverted U-shaped female labor force participation rate instead of the typical U-shape that is found in other countries. Also, our analysis establishes a positive relation between fertility rate and female labor force participation rate. And which is in fact, like, for several developing nations have found no empirical support for the supposed negative relationship between fertility and female labor force participation rate. So to move on to the conclusions, our study was aimed at empirically analyzing the relationship of the U in India. So what we have proved is that there is no empirical evidence, and it cannot be explained why the female labor force participation rates in India are falling. And similarly, the U-shaped hypothesis trend is not noticed in the Indian data. So structural change in India has followed a different trajectory as well compared to most developing and developed nations. So the common pattern, as we have discussed, has not been followed in India, and India has witnessed a rapid decline in the size and of volume added by the agricultural sector to the economy. So what this implies is that the constantly decreasing levels of the female labor force participation in India is not only worrisome, but also unusual, for which some of the possible explanations I have tracked. Firstly, to begin with, the increased mechanization owing to the rapid industrialization in our economy. Secondly, the income effect hypothesis, which also states that families are proud when female members of the family refuse to work, and proving that the male members of the family are capable of providing a decent lifestyle for the family. Thirdly, institutional support, the lack of institutional support. Fourthly, the U-shaped relationship between the education and female labor force participation rate. And similarly, struggles with well-meaning but discriminatory government policies and violence against women and the gender wage gap could also be possible explanations for the same. Moving on to the suggestions, the goal of policymakers should probably be twofold. That is to increase the number of women in the workforce and to discourage the existing women from leaving, for which we can look into government policy actions in the form of skill enhancement and training initiatives, enhancing and improving the gender budget, which is also a sustainable development goal, the fifth development goal, which is gender equality and empowerment of women. And similarly, corporate sector can promote gender equality not just in terms of the number of women hired, but also in the treatment by removal of glass ceilings. Then civil society and media play an important role by influencing attitudes and choices through awareness schemes, encouragement and celebration of women across the country. And lastly, capability theory, the famous Amartya Sen theory of capability, which is to enable and empower women through by investing in people and their freedoms. That's it. I'd like to conclude my presentation here.
Thank you so much. It was really a very good presentation made by you on a very relevant theme. And, there is no doubt that no country can achieve its potential or meet the challenges without full and equal participation of men and women, boys and girls equally, right? But I just want to add one thing that, with respect to labor force participation rate, sectoral analysis would have thrown more light on the issues. It is because, there are some sectors in which labor force participation rate with respect to women is better than men. And there are sectors in which it's poor, right? So as I have told earlier also, there are various innovation labs set up in many countries to identify those sectors in which there can be better labor force participation rate by women. So we have to identify those sectors where we can improve this rate. Then the women can really take the whole burden of development on their shoulders well and take it forward. They can contribute hugely to sustainable development. So that's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I fully agree with your comments, and I will surely incorporate all of these in my further research.
I also echo Dr. Chanchal's suggestions, and because it was giving a generalized look to your research where you had a very exclusive research topic. But when it came to the possible explanation and the suggestions, I think they revolve largely around the agriculture sector, that because of the possible reasons women participation is less. And then the other sectors like the MSME, in which women's contribution or women labor participation is more. I think it needs a deep, probe into the other sectors as well, because I could see that research was very specific, but like I said, the possible suggestions and explanation, they were a generalized opinion kind of thing. So to make your research more empirical and more evidence-based, I think more probe into the other sectors where women participation is better is needed.
Surely, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Quick, hurry up. Don't have time.
Next paper presenter should be totally in line, huh?
Thank
It's
you.
already 12:30 and we have got still now 7 presenters left, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I would request presenters to please go to their, first of all, tell your objectives. You can skip your introduction and don't go in a very detailed way, because then only you will be able to get a qualitative comments. Go to your findings, first of all, go to your methodology, then findings, and then conclusion.
Our next presenter is Ms. Sanjyoti VK, presenting the paper on Sustainable Development Goals and the Changing Role of State, Interventionist Agriculture Policies and Analysis. Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my topic is Sustainable Development Goals and the Changing Role of State Intervention Agriculture Policies in India and Analysis. Basically, I'm going to show my presentation myself. I mean, my slides.
Yes, ma'am, we have stopped sharing. You can share.
Yeah. Is it sharing now? It's happening?
No, ma'am, not yet.
Why did you do this?
Is it happening?
No, ma'am, not yet.
No, it's not visible.
Please wait for a moment, please. Share after that. Yeah, I hope it's happening now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, this is Sanjuti, and I'm doing my research under the guidance of Dr. K.C. Basiraju, Department of Economics and Cooperation in University of Mysore. Yeah, I'll straight away go with the topic. The Sustainable Development Goals that are widely discussed as a harmonized approach to achieve the twin challenges of global economic development along with the global environmental sustainability. It is welcome as it's welcome as a roadmap of 15 years with comprehensive integration of 17 broad goals to achieve the holistic sustainable development. But the actual implications of these goals are conflictual and contradictory. A closer look into each of these goals, their targets and indicators, alongside the politico-economic adjustments and the domestic policy interventions that are needed on the part of the participant countries, reveal quite a contradictory picture. This is due to the fact that neoliberal lineage of SDG in their implications basically work towards widening the income gap on one hand, and they believe in liberal compromises on the environmental front. Let's try to understand the neoliberal lineage of SDG. SDGs are drawn heavily not just on the previous MDGs, that is Millennium Development Goals, but in their lineage on neoliberalism, modernization theory, and its green version, ecological modernization theory, according to Weber and Weber. SDG 1 basically concentrates on ending all forms of poverty, whereas SDG 2 has concentrates on ending hunger, along with food security and improving nutrition and promoting sustainable agriculture. This high emphasis on sustainability throughout 17 goals and the high priority given to agriculture on the surface seems laudable. But Sexsmith and Mike Michael clearly suggest that SDGs are still firmly grounded on neoliberal political approach to the development. According to Michael Span, the agriculture development agenda present in SDGs are really about ensuring the interest of agribusiness at the expense of ensuring actual sustainable development. The re-emergence of agriculture at the center of the development agenda, that what McMichael recognizes is the re-emergence of it is not just a new thing, but it was there in the 2007-8 World Report itself, which says it is as a response to the food crisis in the world. According to World Bank 2007 reports, it was initiated as an agricultural-oriented strategies to feed the world, and while giving smallholder farmers a new pathway out of poverty. These pathways out of poverty envisaged for smallholders being incorporated into the global value chain that connected them to the global market. Akram Lodhi argues that the World Development Report 2008 was strikingly similar to that of 1982 and their previous reports that focused on agriculture. Both the reports envisage the poverty reduction through agriculture that is premised on structural transformation, whereby the countries...
If you don't mind, because these are all definitional things, may I request you to go to the research problem so that, you know,
basically this is descriptive.
Yeah, these definitions, it's understood. Please go to your problem.
Yes, ma'am. It's basically
Fine,
a
please,
literature review study, descriptive study.
So we have already said we can go to the objective and then to the findings, if you don't mind, because we are running short of time due to technical glitch. We have started slightly late. Okay, so I hope you can go to your to your objective of your study. Yes, very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Basically, my objective is to prove that it is the Sustainable Development Goals are basically based on the old modernization theory and a new version of it, that is green ecological modernization theory. That is, I'm trying to prove through the literature review. So in 1960 itself, Resto had told countries follow evolutionary path that can move to a country from one type to another, that is from being agriculture oriented to the urbanized country. But this prescribed move through the, one second, please. Sorry. This prescribed move through the stages looks natural and evolutionary, but actually they are a part of a framework which is a broader developmental framework as projected. Sorry. Yeah. If we look into the UN declaration, which is a famous declaration of our common future in, give me a second, please. I'm trying to skip, ma'am. Yeah. In 1987 report, Our Common Future, UN clearly declared the frames of development and poverty through economic growth and technological advancement. And same way, Kuhn's, if we look into the Kuhn's hypothesis, which says the poverty and the inequality in the process of country's economic development are natural and will be subsequently reduced as the country develops. It is later adopted as ecological Kuhn's theory, which says, put simply, it is the solution to pollution is more economic growth. Thus, ecological modernization theory provides the central organization grammar for the integration of ecological and developmental concerns of SDG. As Akram Lodhi clearly says, the vision of agriculture development is behind every farmer, either a budding entrepreneur waiting to be unleashed by the power of market, or a worker who would be better off working for entrepreneur than working on his or her own piece of land. The global value chain benefits a few big transnational agro-food industries and agribusiness companies that dominate the world food system. The world has considerable, they would have some considerable say over who is incorporated into the value chain and under what conditions. Favoring the corporate actors in the value chain to feed the world and to ensure sustainability privileges the high input agriculture, thus opening up new markets to agri-input businesses and agri-food businesses who would be growing food and fuel only for those who can pay for it. By understanding the often used term sustainable intensification helps us to better understand the neoliberal lineage of SDG. Basically, the existing agribusiness, agricultural land on which the they want to improve the yield, or those of the smallholders who are deemed to be inefficient and not so viable in the market-oriented development model. It is to be consolidated into more commercially oriented large holdings through the process of disposition and the migration out of agriculture, that is through the evolutionary stages of growth, that is modernization theory. As McKinnon argues, sustainable intensification and the politics and strategies influenced by it expands opportunities to the high input agriculture as chemical input are sold as being sustainable. We have certain strong reason to support this argument. The World Bank's explicit statement, which says that no world region has been able to boost agriculture growth and tackle hunger without increasing the use of fertilizer. And the evidence suggests that farmers linked to global value chain apply inputs at a far higher rate than the other smallholder farmers, which places the doubt on whether ecological relations, the ecological relations of the ecological sustainability is simply externalized or what. An often used example of sub-Saharan agriculture, which is considered as less productive in comparison to the higher productivity of Asian agriculture. The latter's more extensive use of non-organic fertilizers is cited as a major reason. Moreover, the efforts to curb the effects of climate change is also linked to the use of...
may I request you to please come to your final slide because we have already crossed the time limit.
Yes, ma'am, I'll be concluding.
Please come to your final slide.
Yes, ma'am. The final 2 points I would like to make to conclude my point is like the other 2 important reasons which highlights this involvement of the SDGs with the agro business people. That is one of the involvement of high level stakeholders, and the second one is SDGs export orientation in alignment with WTO. The high level stakeholders, to name few of them, is the Farming First community, and the other one is IFK, that is International Fertilizer Association, which openly said that it is it is invested around $120 billion in the between 2008 to 2016 just to match the food requirement of the world. And the other one is WTO's export orientation. That is very clearly shown in the indicators of 2C, 2B, 2E, which says that and this kind of agriculture development would definitely make the food availability for the locals a very difficult thing. And the implication of it in India, if we want to see the changing role of intervention in agricultural policies in India. We have agricultural policies in India basically started with a thin objective of protecting the farmers from the dominant market forces and to attain self-sufficiency in food. But we all know that the uneven grounds in which the farmers basically play, that's why these twin objectives were kept. To a farmer-centric agriculture policy was adopted. The advent of APMCs in 1960s and 70s, many states followed this, and in 33 decades it followed. But since 1991, after India turned liberalized mode, the government went towards deregulation of agriculture sector as well. And the major turning points are, if you just look into the agro neoliberalism framework, as Antonio puts it, the three important dimensions of it: renewed public-private alliance, novel techno-economic strategies that intensify the social ecological exploitation, and the third one is containment of critical reactions. And this started basically in 2000 with the Rainbow Revolution National Agriculture Policy, which basically given importance to PPP model. And then the ENAM.
Thank you so much.
And the ENAM.
I told you to wind up, and now I think these are more literature review section which is coming out.
Ma'am, 2 minutes, I'm concluding.
Yeah, 2 minutes though we don't have. Please, in 10-15 seconds, please wind up so that we can hear from experts, okay?
Yes, ma'am. The ENAM is basically reducing the APMC's control rather than, it is giving more free hand to the traders. And then the economic survey of 2014-15 clearly said if the center's persuasion doesn't work, we have to go with the constitution way of changing the subject under which control says. So this is basically the creation of agriculture goals.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, may I request Chanchal madam and Kavita madam to give a very quick comments, because we have almost 1 5
we are short of time. Yes, thank you, Sanjyoti. No doubt the topic is very good, and agriculture has a great role to play in sustainable development, because it provides income to so many people, and their standard of living depends on their income from agriculture. But its role is more important with respect to food security also. And when you discuss the state interventionist agriculture policies, then you please discuss it in the light of food security. That will make your analysis more relevant. That's from my side. Thank you.
Exactly, ma'am. Actually, it was the second part, but unfortunately, I couldn't present.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So now I think we have got next, because, our Kavita madam already had got a meeting. She said it, and I want to take her comment also in remaining papers also. So
I think I'll post my comments in the chat box.
That's better. That's better. And we'll share the mail IDs. And if you want to really talk to our experts, you can talk personally through mail if our chair agrees. Isn't it, Kavita madam? Can we share your mail ID?
I think if anybody has any specific question, then you can share to the specific
in the
candidates.
chat box, so you can write it down, right? And she will answer.
Sure.
Fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Now, next, I'd request organizer to take care.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next participant is Ms. Shruti Tayal from Amity School of Economics, presenting the paper on Women and Child Health Security, a case study of selective Tier 1 cities. Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everybody. My topic is Women and Child Health Security, case study of selective Tier 1 cities. Introducing my topic, as we know that India has a population of 1 billion people, so it has faced many challenges in improving the health and nutrition of women and children. Even with the huge amount of investment, the targeted development rate did not match the actual development. The reasons for slow development can be said of increasing population, urbanization, migration, and new diseases. The study findings have suggested that there is a relative gap between the actual and the targeted performance of health indicators, like the indicators that I have taken in my study are stunting and wasting of children, vaccination of children, BMI and anemia, the antenatal and prenatal care visits of mothers, mortality rate of children and mothers. So the objectives of my study are health and nutritional status of women and children in rural and urban areas. And the other is women and child health analysis in selective metropolitan cities that come under the Tier 1 cities. So my research methodology is that I have conducted secondary research, and I have performed t-test and analysis of variances were performed for the analysis, and the data has been visually presented using Excel and SPSS and also Python, and data was collected from the NFHS, DHS, and World Bank. So the interpretations were for stunting and wasting of children, the null hypothesis was accepted as the p-value was seen to be 0.28 and 0.09 respectively. For vaccination of children, again, the null hypothesis was rejected here as the increase was seen of 15.2%, and the p-value was 0.0. The antenatal and prenatal care visits, the antenatal care null hypothesis was accepted as the p-value was 0.12, and for postnatal care it was rejected as the p-value was seen to be 0.001 as there was an increase of 15.76%. For the institutional births, again, the hypothesis was rejected.
I think you need to change the slide, please.
Ma'am, okay, sure. So for institutional births, again, it was rejected as there was an increase of 4.92% seen. An increase on C-section births was seen to be 6.15%. And the births that were attended by skilled personnel was, again, the hypothesis was null hypothesis was rejected as the p-value was 0.06. For child mortality rates, that is the neonatal under 5 and the infant mortality rates, the null hypothesis was again accepted because the p-value was 1.45. For maternal mortality ratio, as it
sorry for intervening. Could you please give us the broader findings, suggestions, and methodology? Because sharing the statistics, I think, is killing our time, and we would like to know more about the broader findings of the project.
Sure, ma'am. I will jump to that one. So here, as we can see, there's a forecasting for next 10 years visible. For maternal mortality ratio, and as we can see, the maternal mortality ratio is falling. So by the year 2027, it is expected to be somewhere around 36. But seeing our sustainable goals, our sustainable goal won't be achieved because for it to be achieved, it should be a single digit. Wind up. Yes, ma'am. I'll jump.
It's high time. Please wind up.
Sure, ma'am. I'll jump to the recommendations then. Sure. So, ma'am, for the recommendation, I would say that food diversification and inclusion, food diversification is required for the inclusion of all the necessary nutrients. Food fortification is required, where we should add extra minerals while manufacturing of the food. extra supplementation is also required for the children, as anemia was seen in both women and mothers and children. And an integrated approach is like needed to focus on all of the indicators and not just one indicator to achieve our sustainable goals, and awareness using the IEC activities, that are the information, education, and communication. Changing in the mental stigma about the antenatal care visits is also needed, and promotion of traffic light labeling system to get a control over the BMI, and control and better regulation of policies for the food adulteration, and compliance of IFA tablets, that is the iron and folic acid tablets, to curb anemia. And again, there's this rice fortification that has now been made compulsory.
Thank you so much, Shruti. So may I now request, madam, if you can give a very quick comments?
Just a minute. Can you just give the final conclusion of your data analysis?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, here it is. We saw
Sure, ma'am. As we saw, there was statistically significant development in many health indicators. So we can say that the programs that have been initiated by the government did uplift women and children health security. But again, the integrated approach is needed, because just upliftment in particular indicators won't help us achieve our goals. So that would conclude my study.
Yeah, very good presentation. We are short of time, otherwise we would have seen your total data analysis, but it's good. You really made a very good presentation. Thank you so much.
I have one very quick point in your recommendation. You said integrated way to achieve the sustainable development goals. Because we are talking specifically about women and children, I think you should have highlighted those specific goals. There are 18 goals and sub-targets like women health and poverty and health security. So you should have been able to pick up those specific SDGs that are specific to your topic, and then you should have tracked the progress against them. This is, I think at this moment, I only have this much to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Actually, we have our venue is booked for the next session also, so we will have to go quick. And now I request Adil Iqbal. Adil Iqbal has joined. I think next is Adil.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
A very good afternoon, present everyone here. Ma'am, can I share my slide?
No, our organizer will share it. They have already shared it. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, the title of my study is A Future Plan for Improving People's Financial Literacy.
Yeah. If you can very quickly can go to the objective and then to the
Okay,
final.
ma'am, objective.
Fine,
The
thank you.
objective of my study is to analyze the initiative taken by the Indian financial regulators and to develop a long-term strategy for boosting
It's
people's
there in the
financial
list,
literacy.
Bhava, or it's not there?
So proposed school
Yes,
level
madam.
curriculum.
Iqbal's name is typographical कुछ error के वजह से बाहर रह गया. Sir, I'm sorry, very sorry. May I request you to please include?
It's okay, it's okay. We are adding here. Financial.
Okay. And another one objective is to access the influence of the proposed school level curriculum on the people's financial literacy. And here are some of the initiatives taken by the financial regulators to increasing financial literacy as OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. They should, financial education should begin in school so that people can learn more about money as soon as feasible. Financial education should be a part of financial organization. Good governance, we should foster accountability and responsibility. Important life planning factors such as basic saving, death insurance, and pension should also be emphasized on the financial education program. Another one is RBI, Reserve Bank of India. The RBI launched a project financial literacy initiative. The goal of this project is to provide information on the central bank and general banking ideas to a variety of targeted groups,
Please
including
change the
high
slide. Your
security.
slide is on OECD. Please change the slide.
Okay, please change the slide, ma'am. The project is divided into two sections, with the first focused on the economy, RBI and its activities, and the second on general banking. Another initiative taken by RBI is, is communicated to the targeted public for presentations, leaflets, brochures, forums, and RBI websites with the support of bank, local government machinery, schools, and colleges. Another one is SCBI, Security and Exchanges Board of India has launched a statewide program to promote financial literacy. SCBI has appointed resources person India to provide financial education to variety group, including school pupils, college students, working education, various groups. Over 3,500 workshops has been held in various states involving over 260,000 people. SCBI run investor education programs through investor organizations all throughout the country. SCBI hold regional seminars in collaboration with a variety of stakeholders, including stock exchange, depositories, mutual fund association, and association of the merchant banks. Another is IRDA, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authorities. In the area of financial literacy, the Insurance Regulatory and Development Bodies has implemented a number of measures. A radio and television awareness program was broadcasted and state-forwarded messages regarding policyholders' rights and responsibilities, disputed resolution channels, and other topics were broadcast on television, radios, and printed media. IRDA hold an annual seminar on policyholders' protection and welfare, as well as the partial sponsoring insurance seminars by consumers organization. The NCAER, National Council for Applied Economic and Research, has conducted a pan-India survey on insurance awareness level of the IRDA. IRDA has also released policyholders handbooks and comic book series on insurances. Another one is PFRDA, Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authorities, has been busy informing the public about social security. PFRDA has created a web-based focus on pension-related topics and has partnered with a number of non-government groups in India. PFRDA has placed advertisement in both print and electronic media, including radio and television. Creators are PFRDA appointed middlemen whom are directly responsible for pension awareness, primarily in the vernacular languages and in accordance with the socioeconomic sensibilities. Now, here are some of the proposed financial literacy curriculum for school as a topic. Money, it should include history of money, barter system, importance, concept of money, paper, e-coin, all kind of money. Another topic is banking, and it should include definition, role of banking, saving, investment, types of bank services offered by banks. Another one is financial planning. It should include meaning, his household, healthcare, checkup, importance, education, medical, and many more. Another one is importance of maintaining financial record. PAN and its utility, Aadhaar card, Demat account, bank statements, passbook, insurance policies, tax returns, proper document, helpline numbers and services and all. Now, this is a theoretical research model for increasing people's financial literacy. At one side, we can show the topics like money, banking, household, and on the other side, it shows the impact of the proposed level. When we increase financial literacy, like we have sound financial decision, increased saving and investment behavior, more knowledge and investment avenues, easy to handle banking, commerce and procedures, profitable investment, variances and exchange activities, and many more. Now here comes the conclusion. If our youngs are taught about the financial literacy, it will definitely benefit our society and individual and entire community. But only the small percentage of population is aware of this. When our students acquire the necessary skill, it will draw a good attention, not just to the school, but also to the community. Financial literacy programs are included in the school curriculum. It opens new doors for youth as well. A dedicated teacher, enough resources, appropriate materials, and community involvements are all required for any literacy program to be successful. Some guidelines to keep in the mind while putting together a successful financial literacy program. We should have a clear vision and a mission. We should connect it to the standards, and we should be centered on the community, integrated with other areas of curriculum, aided by sufficient financial resources, continuous effective evaluation, learner-centered, effective deliveries. That's it from my side. Thank you. Thank you so much.
was a very good presentation on financial literacy.
Thank you.
But I think some quantitative analysis would have made it better, with respect to contribution of financial literacy to sustainable development. A lot of data is available on
Yeah,
financial
ma'am.
literacy.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we will request Bobby Narayan
thank you.
from RNTU Bhopal to present. And we are actually trying to rush. And then we have got our students from Amity School of Economics also. And they are also very eager to present. So we are left only with 4 presentations from our school. And this is the last one from external members presenting. Thank you. Right. So this is, I think, yeah, this is EduTech, e-skill.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Can I just share screen?
The screen is already
Cannot
shared.
share
I hope
screen
you
while
can
the
see.
participant is sharing.
Mr. Bobby, I hope you can see the screen.
Yeah, I can see, but it is written you cannot start screen share while other participant is sharing.
So we will be sharing the screen for you.
Now somebody is sharing the screen.
Yes, yes, we are sharing. Our organizers are sharing. You please start.
Yeah.
The PPT
It
which
is
you have
from your
shared
part
with
you are
us.
sharing it?
The PPT which you have shared with us, sir, we are sharing the same. You please start your presentation.
Okay. Okay. Now, I think it is the 5th international conference, I think, sustainable development and economic aspects and entrepreneurship. Sorry, I didn't get much time to go through it. And I have chosen the topic that is EdTech skill, e-skill or innovativeness in a knowledge-based society. That was in your track 5. Now it is being presented in collaboration with Dr. Sangeeta Johri, who is my guide also. Now, I have chosen this study, and the goal was to develop a technique that would not only evaluate the effectiveness of educational initiative, but also provide a design guideline for implementing them. Now, it is an effectiveness of educational initiative. Introduction, I am not going into deep into it because it is a much lengthier paper. And I hope everybody will read it, and it will be very useful for you people to evaluate it also. A knowledge-based society is very much required. Okay, we need to flourish in terms of the world shifting economic and political dynamics because it is changing very rapidly, and we need knowledge creation, dissemination, participation in technological innovation. But what I find that most of our people are not entering into this technological innovation, whether the students of more humanities are available. And even science is a very tough subject, and technology is much more far away from we people. And to make India a knowledge superpower, we have not still achieved it. And each of us must be a knowledge worker in order to develop a world-class knowledge society. Whether we are selfish and we are not going to be a knowledge worker, but we are self-centered only what we are. What is the aim and what the material and the method used? A design-based research, that is DBR, it is divided into 4 phases. Study was carried out to discover design principles, and very much it is mentioned in the paper. The collecting of design-based research supports qualitative or quantitative data in cycles of several weeks, semester, or year. It is a secondary-based data. So the freshly it was not conducted. The survey questions were derived from student success toolkit, and a 5-point Likert scale have been used. The students' e-skill set were examined using a mixed method approach that included regression analysis and subsequently a qualitative study of the students' blog. Now, the term knowledge society first appeared in 1990s. That is knowledge society, that is information society. Now we live in interdependence. Now we have to understand the interdependence. When knowledge is synonymous with survival in evolution. Now people are surviving, but it is not possible without knowledge nowadays. And those who are far away from the knowledge, they are unable to survive at present day. Significant progress has been made in providing schools with information technology, online education, producing educational software, elaborating materials, and providing academics with training opportunities. But we have to remember that. Remember what? Most of the Indians are still not getting or still unable to access the internet facilities. So more than 50% of our population are deprived from it. The concept of knowledge society recognizes the superiority of intellectual power of all over the powers of economic, military, and political. So if you want to become a militarily strong nation, knowledge society is very much required. A growing number of skills and skills are required in knowledge economy. So the economics is mainly based on nowadays knowledge. Skills and skills are very much required. Now, what is the objective? Objective is evaluate education's purpose in a knowledge-based society. Analyze design ideas for a classroom that fosters students e-skill to be ed-tech innovator, ed-tech education technology innovator, to understand predictive design-based research methodology in educational and technology research. That is, this is DBR. It is the format of DBR. I think you are viewing it. It is now analysis of practical problem by researcher and practitioner in collaboration, then development of solution, then iterative cycle of testing and refinement of solution in play practice, then reflection produced as a design principle. Basically, this is one refinement of problem, solution method, and design principle. Now, next, statistical analysis. I'm not going deep into that. And the regression analysis was performed to determine the correlation among the 9 factors taken. The null hypothesis and all slope coefficients should be 0. Now here it is, then you can see in the slide number 5. It is outcome of regression foundation. Then another one is outcome of regression meta. I'm not going deep into that. Now another is outcome of regression human. These humans knowledge includes life and professional skill, emotion, ethical awareness, cultural awareness, life and career skill include capability and flexibility in terms of position is converted. These things are meant for only those who are educated people, and these are not meant
Sorry
for
to interrupt you, sir. So you have 2 minutes to wind up.
I have only one slide left.
Okay, sir.
Okay. I think you should have taken it into consideration. Okay. This is the last slide. Now, I will conclude with the last line of the day. E-skill set evaluates included core topic, that is e-skill, cross-disciplinary e-skill, communication, cooperation, problem solving, critical thinking, innovation, creativity, life, job skill, emotional intelligence, and cultural competence. Is there any more time left?
I think this was the last slide. Thank you so much, sir. Highly enriching presentation. I'm sorry we could not give you, because it was SDG goals are such discussions that it is never ending. We can just go on, but we have our time constraint. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable input. If there is any query from or any question from our experts, from chairs.
No. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very good presentation.
Now there are our three students. Two students from Amity School of Economics. They will be presenting their work, what research work they have done. By this time, it's already 1:11 and Kavita madam has already got a meeting. So I would request students to please rush if you really want input from a resource person like Kavita ma'am. And so please go very quickly with your objective and findings. So we will wind up with the two presentation, that is by 1:20 we will close it. Okay, thank you so much.
Our next participant is Ms. Lakshmi Priya Nair from Amity School of Economics, presenting a paper on role of self-help groups in employment and empowerment of women, a case study of Kerala. Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lakshmi Priya Nair, and I'll be presenting on the topic role of self-help groups in employment and empowerment of women, a case study on Kerala. So due to the time constraint, I'll go very fast. So I'll be focusing on a self-help group named Kudumbashree, which focuses on areas like women entrepreneurship, local economic development, women empowerment, etc. So now coming to the objectives, I'll to know more about Kudumbashree and their poverty elevation activities and their performance till date, I've made 3 objectives, which are to study the structure, to study about the various economic development programs under Kudumbashree, and to study the growth of Kudumbashree over the years. Now, the research methodology is case study analysis. I've performed the correlation, and the data collection method is secondary. Now, coming to the first objective, which is the structure of Kudumbashree. Kudumbashree has got a 3-tiered structure where neighborhood groups is the bottom of it, and it consists of around 20 to 40 women members. 5 volunteers are chosen from each neighborhood groups to carry out various functional duties. Next is the Area Development Society, ADS. It is created by federating all the neighborhood groups, and it forms the second layer of the structure. Now coming to the third, which is CDS, Community Development Society. It is basically the federation of all the ADS, and its functions include linkage, banking coordination, leadership of energies, and facilitating income generation activities. Now coming to the right-hand side of the slide, these are the economic development programs carried out under Kudumbashree. First is the micro enterprise, where rural micro enterprise, Yuvashree, and programs like Swarna Jayanti, Shahari Rozgar Yojanas are carried out. Then there is thrift and credit and linkage banking. The bank linkage initiative has aided the neighborhood groups in supplementing their existing thrift collected resources. Now quickly coming to the data analysis. In the chart shown in the left-hand side, it shows the all India interdependence of loans disbursed and savings with banks. So here, analysis on all India loan disbursement and savings accrued by the self-help groups have been analyzed for a period of 2009 to 10 and 2020-21. After the analysis, a correlation was performed, and a positive correlation of 0.9 was found, as you can see it from the scatter diagram. Now coming to the chart 2, it shows the index of neighborhood groups linked with NABARD through linkage banking scheme. As per the data available with the Kudumbashree portal, there were 10 neighborhood groups that was linked with NABARD with the linkage amount of 6 lakhs in 1998. Then a total of self-help groups have grown to 80 lakhs 3,379 with a total linkage amount of 20,000 crores in 2021-2022. Now coming to the last chart, it shows the index of number of neighborhood groups that received a matching grant from NABARD. So Kudumbashree has created an incentivizing program known as matching grant to encourage the neighborhood groups to come forward for bank linkage program. So the main attraction of this program is that here the linked neighborhood groups will be granted an amount of 5,000 or 10% of their thrift. In 1998-1999, there were only 3 neighborhood groups that received a matching grant of rupees 20,000. In 2020-21, the number of neighborhood groups has increased to 1,12,736 with a matching grant of 4,541.2 lakhs.
Now, from the data analysis, we can conclude that the devolution of funds have been reaching the beneficiaries. However, there is no data of social development like gender equality, their women's participation in decision making, etc. Hence, government it is advised that government should focus on the qualitative aspect as well, rather than just focusing on the quantitative aspect.
Thank you so much. In this stage, you have done very good work. Very,
you.
very
Yeah.
much spoke, isn't it, madam?
Yeah, very good.
She was very, she's
Yeah.
graduation mein ho na? She's just
J-
a
J-
PA
J-
student,
J-
but she was
Okay,
focused.
okay. Yeah. Very good, very good. But just for my knowledge, I would like to ask you that can you tell me the sector in which these self-help groups are there? They are all in agriculture or into some other sector also?
They almost cover all the sectors like microfinances, small enterprises. Also, they help the farmer women in Kerala.
That's what madam is telling. It is only agriculture.
Yeah, it's mainly agriculture. They have
Mainly,
focused other areas yet.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you, ma'am.
The last presentation for the day is by Chahat Gupta from Amity School of Economics, presenting the paper on COVID-19, food security in India. Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
So greetings to one and all present here. Today, I, Chahat, will be presenting my presentation on the topic COVID-19 food security in India. So due to the time constraint, I will be going to objectives. First objective is to analyze the major disruption of the food supply chain in the wake of lockdowns that are triggered by the global health crisis, which led to the major global economic slowdown. Second, to understand that the crisis have resulted in the lower incomes and the higher prices of some foods, putting food out of reach for many, undermining the right to food and stalling efforts to meet SDGs 2, that is zero hunger. Thirdly, to undermine the unfolding crisis that has affected the food system and threatened the people access to food via multiple dynamics and related with the 4 A's of the food security. So the research methodology of my research work is that this is a type of a quantitative research which includes multiple aspects of quantifying the degree of results to better address the objectives and perform the various methods to find the composite score of hunger. Second, as we know that calculating hunger is very complicated, so it calculated to the various factors used in the calculation of GHI scores came from various UN and other multilateral agencies. Thirdly, for the factors, the sources which I have collected from where I have collected are undernourishment data are provided by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the Union, that is FAO. Child mortality data are sourced from United Nations Interagency Group for Child Mortality Estimation.
It's all right. Go to your findings.
Yeah, data analysis and findings are the data is collected from 2021 Global Hunger Index. India is ranked 101 out of 116 countries with sufficient data to calculate 2021 GHI scores. With a score of 27.5, India has a level of hunger that is serious. The Global Hunger Index is a tool designed to comprehensively measure and track the hunger at global, regional, and national levels. COVID-19 is especially deadly for the elderly or those whose health is already compromised. In the vicious cycle, illness makes people vulnerable to malnourishment, and malnourishment leaves people vulnerable to further infections. So the composite score of GHI are that for the 3 dimensions, that is inadequate food supply, food indicator includes our undernourishment. It includes 1/3 of the weight.
for the reasons of inclusion are measures of the insufficient food supply, an important indicator of hunger. So secondly, children undernutrition. That it includes the various indicators, that is wasting and stunting, and child morality, that is under 5 morality rate. So the statistics are 15.3%. As you can see in the slide, the statistics are 15.3% of the population of the India is undernourished. 17.3% of children are 5 are wasted, and 34.7 of the children are 5 are stunted, and 33.4% are.
Please go to your last slide.
It's a conclusion is that COVID-19 crisis has imposed uncertainty in the overall processes from the field to the consumer. It had affected all the sectors such as agriculture, industrial, economics, etc. And it has drawn marked attention towards the security of the food for a prolonged time, and it emerges into the food movement. Lastly, I would like to conclude that to emerge from this pandemic, it is necessary to attain the responsible consumption and production, which can contribute to the zero hunger and zero waste, which can ultimately.
Thank you so much. We can understand that within a time constraint, you have managed your presentation, and it was such a broad thing. So now may I request our Chanchal madam, if you very quickly, she wants to comment on the conference papers, and if she wants to say something extra, because she have given already her comments individually, but even if she wants to say something more.
Okay, we have finished with the papers?
Yes, we are done, madam.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mahua. It was really a very great session. I thoroughly enjoyed with girls presenting so well, and they had really worked hard for their presentations. And good afternoon, everyone. It's really my privilege and honor to be here to chair a session on sustainable development, socio-economic aspects, and entrepreneurship at the 5th International Conference on Sustainable Development Goals, Harnessing Innovation and Technology and Society 5.0, which is organized by MIT University. Thank you so much, Professor Mahua Bhattacharjee, to have given me this
you
opportunity.
have each of the papers. I can understand each of the papers you were listening. It's only an academics, a person who is hardcore academician can have that tenacity, madam, to listen to each one of them. And I know how it must have encouraged our researchers to think again, critically, to think again. Thank you so much.
I'll just conclude by saying that, you know what, I have seen from the papers and other readings and my research, that COVID-19 has been one of the most significant challenges ever faced by the modern world. And the way vaccine has been prepared just in 326 days by scientists who work together across borders. And this has taught us that how innovations can save lives and livelihoods and shorten the response time to the pandemic. This pandemic has also shown that time value of the action is important. Better preparation avoids economic and human losses, and what is important for the scientists is to have resources to achieve their full potential. Therefore, only appropriate financing today can address systemic risk to global health and the economy in future. Now, the same goes for our businesses too. Innovations, technology, and timely actions can foster sustainable development and prosperity for all. United Nations has set the Sustainable Development Goals to promote prosperity for all while protecting this planet. These goals aim at ending poverty and formulating such strategies which build economic growth and address social needs, including education, health, social protection, job opportunities, and at the same time, tackle climate change and environmental protection. Now, COVID-19 has spread human suffering and destabilized the whole global economy. Usual policies and social norms which existed earlier and which aim at sustainable development have been disrupted. It's important to take now bold steps to steer the economies back to the track towards sustainable development. And it's very crucial for economies to have systematic shift to a more sustainable economy, which works for both people and this planet. Now, inclusive and sustainable industrialization, along with innovation and infrastructure, only can unleash dynamic and competitive economic forces, which generate employment and income. So they play a key role in introducing and promoting new technologies, facilitating international trade, and enabling the efficient use of resources. Now, COVID-19 has also caused deprivation and unemployment in addition to the levels which existed earlier, and therefore the sustainable development goals, which aim at leaving no one behind, really help us to identify ways to scale and enlarge the scope of socio-economic policies, which can have the additional efforts to achieve the goals. Now, response of this pandemic to accelerate decarbonization and protect the natural capital, build resilient cities, and ensure social equality and inclusion and realization of human rights for everyone has been great. But this pandemic is a reminder of the ultimate relationship among humans, animals, and the environment.
Exactly.
Now,
Madam, you are very right. I remember when I used to travel by during the pandemic, then lockdown was going on. At that time, when I was traveling through this Yamuna, it was totally blue in color, and so
yeah.
now it is back to black.
Yes,
so there's a long way to go, and I'm sure that our young generations who are sitting behind with us, and they will really work out so that that blue Yamuna still remains without pandemic also. So thank you so much, Chanchal madam, for your valuable comments.
So we cannot have businesses as usual the way they existed before pandemic. We have to find new ways of having sustainable practices.
So this kind of conferences and this kind of discussions will give us, first of all, will motivate us to go on thinking, and will give us a guidelines to structure a new framework so that we can sustain. So thank you so much, Chanchal madam. So please allow us to give a formal vote of thanks from our organizers. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I would like to extend a very hearty vote of thanks to our founder president, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, our chancellor, Dr. Atul Chauhan, and vice chancellor, Dr. Balvinder Shukla ma'am, without whose guidance and support, it would have been impossible to organize this international conference. I would also like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks and gratitude to our track coordinator, Dr. Mahua Bhattacharjee, and the convener of this conference, Dr. Neeru Siddhana, and the joint administrator, Dr. Kavita Indapurkar, for their invaluable guidance and support throughout. Furthermore, I would like to extend my gratitude to our honorable chairs this morning, Dr. Chanchal Chopra and Ms. Kavita Sharma, who spared their time from their busy schedules to grace this occasion. We're also immensely grateful to all the participants for the commendable addition to this conference. Finally, I extend my gratitude to the audience for staying with us throughout this session to make it a lively event. Last but not the least, I'm thankful to the IT and organizing team for making this session a success. I'm sure we have been all the spectators to some great research and immense learning today. Once again, thank you one and all for your cordial cooperation in making this a successful event.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.